I was like, don't get nervous. It'll probably just be us talking to each other, so it'll be fine. It says preparing to let. Okay,
All
setting.
good.
Yeah, we don't care. We're like, this is our like tester.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the thing that I wonder about. Like, if I'm on Zoom and on this, is it gonna not? I was like, don't get nervous. I was like, don't get nervous. It'll probably just be us talking to each other, so it'll be fine. Okay. So it's
I'm
preparing
getting
to let. Okay, so
I'm getting an echo.
Yeah.
So I think I have to turn this. We're like, this is our like. So it looks like we're live. Okay. It just opened it up for me on my desktop, but
Gotcha.
So
oh, that's what it. Okay,
the
yes.
thing we could do is just check on your phone to make sure that
That's what I'm
Yes.
doing now, but it's not coming
We
on.
are live.
Awesome.
Oh, we're live. Okay, guys.
Yay.
How
we
do
are.
I know? You can check to see, right? Because
Yes, I
since
can
I'm
check
on
to see.
Zoom, you know what I mean? Like I can't see.
Yeah,
I mean, it should be because it's set up that way, but what do I know?
Yeah, I have the live notification.
Okay. But what I'm saying is like, as far as like chat and stuff like that, like all I'm seeing is Zoom. So
maybe just mute your YouTube.
oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Your
Yeah.
YouTube tab.
Got it. Now I got to go back in there.
Because yeah, that's how I'm gonna do it because if I'm gonna
I
moderate.
can't see.
No work, no.
How do I get there?
Dani, we should have done a test trial with you.
I know.
You know what? No, it's all good because this is the reality of doing shows live and
Oh yeah.
figure it out on the fly, and it's all good. And it gives people a couple minutes to kind of trickle in. They get the notification,
Totally.
so it all works out.
I do puzzle streaming on Discord and on Twitch, and I swear every single stream there's like an issue, and I'm like, you know what? This is the reality of it. Like this isn't like an edited
Doing
video or
shows
anything.
live and
Yeah, I was like, this is what you see is what you get. Like, sorry, you either like it or you don't. Like,
yeah.
Okay, so this is what I'm trying to figure out.
James Watson says Dani After Dark sounds like bad news.
Oh yes, I know James Watson well.
Oh.
Hello, James.
Well, yeah, do we want to do just like a little intro to get us started?
Yes.
And then we'll go into some true crime trivia. And then I know Neil has a story for us.
Yeah, so I have
what?
you have what?
I do
Do
not.
you have a story for us, Neil?
He's like, wait.
You don't have to. We could just talk about like anything, anything holiday like if you heard something recently that happened, or we've all had
I have
stuff.
a joke.
So yeah, we could do jokes. So
oh no, I only have one, and I made sure it was a team one for a live.
That's
show.
no fun.
Well, no, it's quite rude, but it's compared to the ones I did on the Halloween special, it's okay.
Yeah, you're targeting yourself, not anyone else.
Okay. So I guess we should say who we are because I mean this is going to be recorded even though nobody's here.
Yeah.
So welcome. I'm Esther, host of Once Upon a Crime podcast on podcast apps and also on YouTube here. So this is our first live stream that we're doing on YouTube, and we wanted to come live and say hi to you guys and say happy holidays and do something fun. And so I invited some guests. We may have some other people popping in. They've said that they're going to try to. We're going to be on here from like 11 to about 1. So we may have people popping in, as we go. But yeah, so we just wanted to have some fun at the end of the year. We do true crime all year, all of us. And I'm going to let the others tell you a little bit about what they do as far as true crime and what their shows are, or how they're connected. And then we're just going to get started and have some fun. So like I said, Once Upon a Crime, we've been around for 8 years, Lorena. 8-ish years. We have over
since 2016. So yeah,
2016 we launched. So over 340 episodes. Yeah, over 340 episodes just this month. And we do a true crime story every week. The podcast has been, like I said, around since 2016. The YouTube channel, do you remember? Because I don't. when he started. YouTube.
Funny thing, our YouTube channel originally wasn't ours. We were hacked. Gosh, I feel
right.
like I look blurry. Do I look blurry?
No.
Oh, okay. We were hacked, and it wasn't until Esther did a like a meet and greet at a school, and she was like talking about how, you know, being a content creator and a podcaster and stuff. And some student was like, "Are you guys on YouTube?" We're like, "Yeah, no, we don't really mess with YouTube." And like within a second, he was like, "Yeah, you are."
Yeah.
And we were like, "Wait,
you
what?"
have, I think he said how many
He was like,
like,
"You have like 6,000 followers."
followers.
What?
And we're like,
Or
"What?"
subscribers? And we're like, "What? What are you talking about?" And so we looked into it, and yeah, somebody was taking our audio and just putting the logo over it, but instead of Once Upon a Crime, it was like Upon a Crime Once or something like that. And so we had to go in manually and like flag all of their content, create our own YouTube page. And so that was like, yeah, like 2019, because that was my big COVID project. I remember working on that like during COVID. So yeah, since 2019, 2020, we've really been growing it. So we're now on YouTube.
Yeah. And it's not just, you know, like the audio. We actually do documentary style videos. If you guys, you know, people that have watched already know that, but a lot of people that are just coming on, like listen just to the podcast, didn't know that we actually do. Lorena finds some amazing like photos and all kinds of things for each episode and puts a whole story together, you know, that to my narration video. So it's really cool. So yeah, just really trying to get more people to check that out, because put a lot of, you know, effort into it, and people find it, they really like it. So that's us. So I want to say hi to Neil and Megan from Mortal Musings podcast. Hello.
Yeah.
Tell us about your podcast, where you're from, all that good stuff, so people know who you are.
It's all right, isn't it?
It'll do the job. We're not quite as established as Esther.
Oh, they've been
we've
around
been
for at
going
least
for-
a year though, right?
Yeah, we're just over a year now. I'll tell the cases. Neil will kind of react. Neil's kind of half co-host, half audience, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Victim.
He's saying what everyone's thinking, I think.
Yeah.
It's kind of that's our deal.
It basically started because she was always listening to true crime podcasts and watching documentaries and stuff. And we'd be sat eating dinner and she'd be telling me like these things, what have happened in cases and stuff like that. And she was getting reactions out of me. And she said, "We need to start recording this. This is gold." So that's how it started. So it was just bullying me.
I think people
basically.
quite enjoy it though. Do you know what I mean?
Of course they do.
They have someone on their side.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you got
Where's that?
people that, you know like True Crime Garage, right? So you got Nick and the Captain, right? And Nick's the guy that tells, you know, does the research, tells the story, knows all the details and stuff. And the Captain's really the guy that does the reaction, you know.
Yeah.
And he'll comment, he'll ask questions to kind of like, well, wait a minute, I don't understand this or whatever. You know, but sometimes, you know, he'll come out with these things where like, what did you say? Like,
Yeah.
like, and Neil does the same thing. Like, what was it? What were we talking about? There was one where you were talking about.
Oh, I know
gosh,
what you're going to say.
It was somebody who was very recognizable and he had no idea who it was. Who was that?
Sid Vicious.
Sid Vicious.
Yes.
No, I do know who Sid Vicious is because he was a wrestler.
No, that's what I mean. Like I was offended by it. And you're English.
I know.
Yeah.
You don't even know who he is.
Yeah. I've heard of the Sex Pistols, but
no idea.
Johnny Rotten, I know that one.
But not Sid Vicious.
No.
Sid Vicious. I
Haven't
know.
been the
So-
same since.
So both me and Megan, I was out listening, of course, and Megan's, you know, actually doing the podcast, and we're having the exact same reaction. Like, what are you talking about?
Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, but I'll also, but because I'm so unique, I pick up on stuff in the
That's a good word for
cases what she wouldn't even think of. So
Yeah.
like in the Richard Chase case, she's there talking about how he had killed a cow and he covered himself in the cow's blood and was running around the field naked. And the police got to him, and when they realized it was cow's blood, they were like, "Oh, there's no crime here." They let him go. And straight away I was saying, whose cow is it? That's someone's cow.
Yeah.
So there is a crime.
Someone's down some cattle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair point.
Like you said, unique.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's we are definitely going to get more of Neil in this in this live stream. So you'll be looking forward to that. So Dani, and I would tell about your YouTube channel. And I met Dani. First, I want to say I met Dani at CrimeCon, the last CrimeCon in the US that we had. And yeah, she came up and she was like, "Oh, I listen to the podcast and this and that." And so it's so funny when people come to me, like, they don't tell me right away that, oh, I also like have a podcast, or I've also have a channel or whatever. And then somehow I think Lorena is the one that always pulls information out of people.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, she has a YouTube channel. I'm like, oh, let me check it out or whatever. So that was really cool. And we found out we had gotten the same books at CrimeCon. We were reading. We're like, okay, I have to hop on and talk about this book, one of the books that we read, the Ann Burgess book, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And yeah. So anyway, Dani, tell them about you, because I know you are much more, I guess, knowledgeable about YouTube or just learning. So tell us who you are and just say hello and whatever you want to let people know about you.
Yeah, thank you. So I am Dani After Dark, and I do a live interactive YouTube channel. I've started that, oh gosh, maybe like mid 2021 or something like that, or 2022. I can't even remember now. And I do 2 live shows a week. One live show is either covering a solved case or doing a book review. And the second one is towards the end of the week. It's the weekly True Crime and Chill, where we just kind of hang out, chat, and talk about the week's current true crime news. So in a nutshell, that's what I do. I am from the Boston area. So if people pick up on that accent, which I don't think I have, but when I was at CrimeCon, everybody was like, oh, we can tell you're from Boston. And I was like,
oh, really?
I don't get Boston.
So yeah, and starting YouTube was a bit of a COVID thing. I started actually as a co-host on another YouTube channel. Me and 2 other guys started the Paul Cass Manson saga discussion panel, where we were looking at just the Charles Manson case. And then from there, I kind of started my own. And yeah, that's how Dani After Dark started. So I love it. I love talking true crime with everyone. So
Yeah, and she's had a lot of really cool guests on too. Name some of the people that you've had interviews with. Just, I know recently there was a couple that were very recognizable that I
oh gosh, yeah. I've been very fortunate to have several authors come on. Most notably Kevin Sullivan, Harold Schechter, author Nicholas Schreck, and that's actually my most watched video, because he was actually friends with both Charles Manson and Richard Ramirez. So he
Wow.
came on and talked about his relationship with Richard Ramirez, and that's like my most watched episode. And I know Richard Ramirez now, with true crime documentaries, is coming back in the public eye. So that video has been most watched again, which is very interesting. But yeah, I've been very fortunate to have the guests, and Esther came on as well. So
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and Lorena, of course, introduce yourself. So, of course, they know me, they know you, but if they don't know,
Yeah. I'm Lorena. I'm behind the scenes of Once Upon a Crime. I handle everything from audio production to social media to admin work. I'm not Esther's daughter or sister, as some think.
I always say that.
Yeah, some people are always like, "Are you sister's daughter?" I'm like, "Nope." But at this point, I feel like we're family. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've been with Esther pretty much since 2016, just after she started. And yeah, we're just 2 gals trying to figure it out on our way.
Yeah, really. It's been crazy.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of stuff. I was talking to somebody the other day about the podcast, and I forget what it was. And I said, I don't even know how to do any of that stuff anymore. I used to do everything from, it started out by myself, writing, recording, editing, uploading it, all that kind of stuff. And for years doing all the audio editing and all that kind of stuff, or it seemed like years anyway. And then Lorena started, and then she started in kind of just helping with general stuff. And then I was like, you want to try to do some audio editing? Like, she's like, yeah, of course, I want to do anything, so she took it over, and I have no idea at this point how to even do it. Like, so lost. If anything happens to her, I'm totally screwed. So
with us, so Megan does obviously the research, and she tells the case, and then I do the editing afterwards. But then so for Patreon, we started doing a Neil's Nuggets where I'm researching a case and telling her. And it was only after the last one I said to you, I don't know how you do it. Like it wasn't even,
You're 3 episodes in.
yeah, I've done 3 and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it. I don't like editing's not easy though.
No one said it was.
No, that's how I feel with the research that Esther, compiles and gets together and everything. Cause like I'll create in my opinion, like a good outline. And Esther's like, and I'll re-listen to the episode like when I'm editing it. I'm like, where the hell did she find this? Like I
Yeah.
dug. I really did dig. And I didn't see that anywhere. And so
Yeah.
it's
I think
it's
for
really
research
impressive.
to me, because the way we do, our cases is it's like telling a story. So that, because I'm the storyteller, like I'm not like a professor or a lecturer, like that. I want to tell the story. And so I'm getting all the information, but then I start telling the story and I think, oh, wait a minute, I want to know about this, like as part of the story. Like it'd be something like, like what you do, Neil, like with Megan, when she said she's giving you this information, you're like, well, wait a minute. Well, what about this? Like, how did this happen? Or something like that. Like I do that when I'm writing. And so then I stop and I think it's because at that point, what question you want answered. So you
Mhm.
know how to ask the question to Google and then
Yeah.
you find it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Because that is
that's the change
something what we have a problem sometimes when we're recording
Mhm.
is she'll be in the middle of telling the case and I'll ask a question and she's like, I don't know, I couldn't find anything about that.
But
Yeah.
that's what's so great about Neil. He'll keep me on my toes because I never have a clue what he's going to ask next. Like I honestly, I couldn't
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Danny,
That's true.
oh,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
I was just gonna ask Danny a
that's kind of
question.
like when I'm writing, like something will pop up that I didn't think about until I start telling the story. And then I'm like, shoot, like now I got to go back and try to figure that out.
Right. Danny, how do you choose like the people that you want on your show? Like, how do you pick? Is it just something that you're interested in, or?
Yeah, it's a mix of like the authors or guests that I have on. It's usually something that I'm interested in or a book that I've really liked and want to get not only just the book, like getting a book review episode out, but also getting the author to kind of talk about their work on it and kind of their experiences with it, which I do have more of that coming up in the new year, which I'm very excited to have those guests on.
Nice.
In regards to like cases that I cover, I do a mix of cases that I'm interested in, and then I also will take a lot of audience suggestions, and that's really really interesting because a lot of the cases that get suggested I'd never heard of. So I'm like researching it and learning it for the first time all at once, and I just get so fascinated. And then I'm like, how did I not hear about this?
Right.
Yeah.
So many that, yeah, when I tell my friends, like, oh, this is what I do for a living, and they're like, oh, have you heard of this? Have you heard of that? And I'm like, no, because when we're working on what we're working on, like, we really are just focused on that topic for the month. And then, like, I cannot tell you what's going on in like current day true crime events. Like,
Yeah.
because we're working on,
I know.
things that have sometimes happened almost 100 years ago, especially like the historical cases. So, yeah, that's really cool.
I'm trying to do better at that. I'm trying to keep up on stuff that's coming out. And but sometimes like now they're revisiting a lot of stuff, they're revisiting, the Menendez and things sometimes because things are coming out new about that. And sometimes it's just because they know people are interested in true crime. So they start putting this stuff out again. So I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
there
I
was
can go back and look at that.
There was something yesterday or the day before. That serial killer who got caught recently, they've just charged him for another murder.
Rex Heerman, the Gilgo Beach one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jersey guy.
Yeah,
They got him for a 7th one.
yeah, got charged for a 7th one.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His hairstyle in the courtroom. Whoever did that.
It was fabulous. I loved it.
They just shaved his sideburns off and that was it.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, so I don't know if we had any kind of holiday like things that we wanted to just to kind of set the tone, like this is a holiday thing as well. I mean, there's always something I can think up, but if you guys had something that you wanted to talk about, like maybe it was some kind of crime or something that came up, we are gonna like be going over the John Benet Ramsey because a lot of stuff came out, and I think everybody kind of has some ideas about that. So we'll do that. But was there anything just kind of in passing that came to you as far as crime related or holiday related crimes, I guess?
Well, what was it you?
Was
Was
it
that
what?
English? Was that English?
Okay, because I'm looking at you like, wait a minute, you look like you're about to say something and you're looking at her.
Oh no, I'm not saying that. I haven't got anything, but you've
Yeah,
got,
like Esther has done the John Benet Ramsey, and then I've done like a more of a dumb criminal type of mini case,
Okay.
holiday thing. But yeah, in terms of just something I've seen in passing, whatever, I'm drawing, like you said, you know, it's kind of current affairs. It's like
yeah.
out
Yeah.
the window a lot of the time.
Well,
Yeah, we
especially
did.
at the minute,
Mhm.
the main thing in the media, especially here in Ireland, is Conor McGregor. But there's nothing festive.
Nothing festive about
There's
that.
nothing
No.
festive about that.
No. No, I mean, there's always those things that come up. I think every year there's something like well, one of the things that we've seen a lot for whatever reason is a lot of thefts of people's holiday decorations, especially now that people put those inflatables on their lawns, you know. It's like, why do you think those aren't good? And I was kind of wondering about that because I had a friend from Scotland and she said there's no way we would ever put anything out in our front yard. It's gone immediately. And I'm like, really? Like,
Yeah, but
and I'm
whenever
like,
I see any videos like that, it's always America.
Yeah.
Always. Like there was one the other day, someone had got a candy cane, like an LED candy cane, and they had it on the mailbox.
Mm.
And two kids just walked up and went, "I'm taking that home," and they ripped it off and took it.
The whole mailbox.
No, just the candy cane.
Oh.
Yeah, I have to say, Americans definitely they're running the show when it comes to like outdoor decorations, whether it's Halloween, Christmas, whatever.
Yeah,
Like
I feel like
definitely.
miles ahead of us.
the last decade, it's really become a thing. Like, you know, growing up, there was like some Halloween decorations, some, you know, fun Christmas lights. Ooh, pretty. But now people go so over the top. Like, it's really
Yeah.
extreme.
Yeah.
And especially, I mean, the wealthier neighborhoods, especially, but like you're gonna get the inflatables, the fun lights. Esther's would know her house is like the
I was
skeleton
gonna
house.
say I was
If you guys
trying to
have
not say
seen-
anything.
Yeah.
Because my house on Halloween it's out of control. Okay, like Halloween.
Personally
I mean,
attacked
Oh
now.
no,
had-
Esther had all the skeletons and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
33. I think we had 33 skeletons, including one of the
Wow.
gigantic, what was it, 30-foot skeletons out there. Like we've had that for a couple of years, but now there's skeletons and they're all like posed and they're doing, one was mowing the lawn, another one was walking the dog, so
Yeah.
have all these things, and then the lighting and everything. It's
Yeah.
become it's called the skeleton house. Now people call it the skeleton house in the neighborhood now. Like, oh my
Do you guys
God.
go out for Christmas, Esther?
No, we do the lighting and it looks really nice, but not as crazy. Our street though, so the street over there,
I bet.
it's so funny because we say that we bought the crappiest house in the nicest street, and then we took like 8 years to like fix it up. But yeah, so there's a lot of beautiful houses on that street and most people that have been living there for decades or whatever. But one of the things they decided several years ago was, and it's like this because there's this neighborhood in it's in San Jose, California, but it's called Willow Glen. And so that's kind of an older neighborhood and there's like bigger houses and whatever. So not every street, but a lot of streets have like a theme that they do for the holidays. Like there's one, like everybody has like a reindeer on their lawn and then there's lights between each reindeer, and then at the end there's like the sleigh or something at the end of the block, so it's like that. It's like the whole block does something. Well, ours decided several years ago that they were going to make these. They actually made them these like light up like they're probably like 6-foot tall candy canes on each lawn that light up. And so when you look down the street on both sides, every lawn has the lined up candy cane. So it looks like, and then they also do like the lawn trees. Like they've always done that, where they're like 4-foot trees that you have to light them. And they have a certain way. They can only be colored bulbs and you can only put, one bulb at the top. It's like this whole thing. So yeah, so the street looks really nice, and we do like the lighting and stuff like that. But we actually thought about taking the skeleton, the 30-foot one, and making a Jack Skellington costume, having somebody
Oh, that'd
Oh
be
my
so
God,
cute.
that'd be
to
deadly.
keep it up there for Christmas. But we haven't gotten that done yet. We got to get somebody with a lot of fabric, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how to
Is,
sew. So
um,
I can't do-
is this something they do in America also? I think this only started recently over here, like maybe the past 2 years. Once it hits December, you'll get a knock on the door, and it'll be a guy, and he's basically putting LED string lights on every house, but he has to knock and ask permission.
No,
on-
that's the council.
Is it?
Yeah.
I've never
So
had
the
anybody
Council
knock
going
on my
round,
door.
stringing lights up.
No.
So the council, like, so basically, when you come onto our road, the whole row of houses, both sides, have got the same LED lights going down.
But
Oh,
that's because
okay.
we live in a main street.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Never
kind of
mind.
cool though that somebody offers that service for you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, it's
See,
beautiful.
That's
but
what I was aiming for.
you've been here nearly a decade.
And, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but
it's
they've only done
new.
it the past 2 years.
No.
Oh,
I
so
got
they've done
James,
it for the past
Boy.
decade.
Yeah.
James says that TMZ just posted that the Delphi murderer just got sentenced to 130 years. I hadn't heard that. Have you
Wow.
heard that? I hadn't heard
Yeah,
that.
Richard Allen, it broke earlier today.
Oh wow. Okay, I didn't see it. I was getting ready for this. I missed it.
Yeah.
Derek says something's 10 foot tall. Not the skeleton. I thought it was taller than that.
White bulb at the top.
He's talking about the lawn tree.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, my house is the mismatch house light. My husband now, he was like, we need all the lights. So we have like the Govee. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Govee lights. You can like set them to music. You can set them to
Oh,
like
yeah.
different like seasons and stuff. Well, the flashing light was too much. Like even I was like, oh gosh, like I'm sensitive to the flashing lights. So now we have like just red, white, and green lights on there all throughout our house. And then we have like candy cane, red and white in front of our tree, right in front of our house. And then we have just like white and yellow lights. So it's very mismatchy, but it's really bright and it's really pretty. It's like one of the only houses on our street that's actually decorated. So it makes
Really?
me happy. Yeah.
Oh. That's
I have
really cool.
actually got a funny Christmas story.
Okay.
I'll say it's funny now. I didn't think it was funny at the time. So, was it first week of December when I put the tree up? The Christmas tree.
It was November.
Okay,
Yeah.
so end of November. So Megan really likes Christmas, and so I wanted to surprise her. She'd only got this little 2-foot tree, and I thought, no, we're not doing that. So I waited for her to leave the house, and I went straight to the store, and I bought a 6.5-foot tree. I bought like 500 LED lights. I
Wow.
bought all the baubles and everything, all the decorations, and I was like, right, I've got like an hour and a half, 2 hours tops before she's back home. I basically wanted it so when she came home, everything was done. It's really nice and sweet of me,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, what she walked in,
He's all
she walked into half a tree,
Mhm.
lights everywhere, baubles weren't on it.
Yeah. It was also one of the trees, do you know, that has like the snow on the edges. So there's just like white flakes everywhere. The dog's trying to eat it. It's a nightmare.
Basically, what had happened is, so I started putting the tree up, and I even looked on YouTube on the professional way to put Christmas lights on a tree, and they said separate your tree and start from the bottom, and then put the next section of the tree on, and then do that section. So I was like, right. So I took the tree apart, and as I was doing so, the tree started to collapse.
Oh no.
So I lunged forward to catch it because I knew this white shit were gonna go everywhere, and snapped my wrist as I like grabbed the tree. My wrist like snapped, and I was like, that didn't sound good. So then when you came home, you'd got me sat on the end of the bed,
Nearly in
sulking,
tears.
sulking because I destroyed my wrist. the tree was half done. So she ended up having to clean up.
Oh no.
Clean up everything, sort everything out,
Yeah.
comfort Neil in his hour of need.
Yeah.
Megan's like, I didn't sign up for this. I was happy with my 2-foot tree over here.
I was. Look at it. It's lovely.
It's beautiful. It's so beautiful.
How did you think you were going to get that done in 2 hours?
Is that not realistic?
No. As soon as you said 500 LED lights, like, no.
How long would it take you to put a tree up?
Just the tree?
Well, no, tree lights, baubles.
Okay, just the tree, like 2 hours itself.
But you were doing it by yourself. We usually have I'll have my grandson come and there's
True.
at least 3 of us, and it'll still take a couple hours.
Yeah, hours.
Yeah.
Look at his face.
Now you
You
know.
had good intentions.
Exactly.
Very sweet.
We've still got to put it away.
You're just going to shove the
Oh my
entire
gosh,
thing
the
into the
putting
box as
away.
it is.
Can you do that? Because the branches all drop down. So can I leave the lights and everything on and then chuck it in the box?
Yeah, that is. You chuck it in the trash. It's not gonna work. Because then the next year all the bulbs are gonna be all broken to hell, and you're gonna have to start over anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They
Well,
fall off,
the thought
and you
that
get
counts.
one that then they start like that whole string will go out, and yeah, it's this whole thing.
But yeah, I'd say for at least a week, maybe 2 weeks. I was struggling to lift anything.
Well, I came home and said, do you need to go to the hospital?
Oh yeah, because
Oh my gosh.
It looked like a bone was sticking out at one side.
Jesus.
and she
Oh
went,
my God.
"That one looked right."
Yeah. It was just a sprain, though. You're all right.
Yeah.
Oh my
Oh,
god,
boy.
it's really not fun. Oh, we're gonna get to what are we drinking? So what are we drinking?
Well,
Oh.
so we've already been working today.
Yeah.
A full-time job. So I said to Megan, I need to have a nap before we do this live stream. So I had an hour and a half nap, but that was a mistake. I woke up more tired than I was when I had the nap. So I got a pre-workout from what you use to go to the gym and put vodka in it. That was my first drink. So it woke me up and I got a bit of alcohol. Now I'm on a beer. Megan's quickly pouring something now.
I don't want to be left out.
That looks fancy.
Basically what she's pouring is it's an amaretto liqueur, but it's
okay.
creamy.
It looks
Oh, okay.
Christmassy. Huh?
Yeah, I
base looks like milk.
haven't had that amaretto before, but I like amaretto. I put
It's
amaretto
got-
in my
so good.
coffee.
Well, you have Disaronno, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Disaronno Velvet.
Oh,
if you
okay.
look it
I
up.
haven't had that.
I haven't had that either. That sounds delicious.
It's
Yeah.
really good.
It's kind of like Bailey's, but I'd say it's even smoother.
It's 10 times better than Bailey's.
All right.
Good to know. I'm just boring with seltzer vodka.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
But she's got her
What's
nice
that?
glass. You got your nice
Seltzer.
glass though with your logo.
Oh,
on it.
yes.
There you go. I saw
So
that.
cute. Danny, where are you located?
Boston.
Okay, so you're like 3 hours ahead of us.
Yeah, so it's like 2:30.
It's like happy hour time for you, girl.
It's Friday.
Almost.
Exactly. I have a horchata coffee,
Oh,
and there might be a little bit of Jameson in here.
yeah, we're both Jameson girls. We love
Yes,
Jameson.
we are.
And I have to go get mine actually because I didn't get it before I started. So talk amongst yourselves, and I'll go get.
Yes.
Oh, that's
I know,
funny.
I'm
My
just
work
saying-
had its holiday party yesterday and it's Yankee swap, and so many people brought Jameson, and that
my
was
God.
one of the gifts I got, and I hate it. So I traded it for some Christmas decor for the house, and people were like, "You're really trading this?" I'm like, "Yes, take it."
Yeah, that's my biggest flaw is I like all alcohol. Like except for gin. I don't like gin, but anything else.
No.
Yeah. Like I can
I
do
can't do that.
vodka. I could do tequila is my favorite. Whiskey, I like beer, I like wine, I like seltzers. I like it all. It's really bad.
See, I hate Malibu. I
Oh,
can't drink
Malibu, that is delicious.
Yeah.
No,
Rum?
I can't do it.
You like
And
rum
if
or you
someone
just
makes
don't
a
like-
cocktail and puts Malibu in, I know 100% straight away. And it's like, no, you've ruined it. It's done.
Ruined it. That's like the best alcohol there is.
No,
Is it
you
just
wait until you try this
coconut?
Disaronno Velvet.
I actually am making a note of that because I will be trying to find that.
I
It
think
sounds
it's pretty
so good.
new. Like we found it a few months ago and we had a sip and we're like, oh my God, this is like a new favorite. This is
It
a
was
go-to
yeah,
drink.
it was when we was going to CrimeCon in the UK, and we were going through duty free in the airport in Dublin, and I was like, what is that? Because we love Disaronno. And I saw that and I was like, what is that? And it was only like 21, 22 euros. So I was like, we're having it. And when we got to the hotel in London, straight away I cracked it open and I'm like, I need to try this.
Mm.
In fact, because I was nervous at CrimeCon, I had a hip flask full of liqueur. I was sat there at my table.
Oh yeah. CrimeCon's such a good time. Like the last day on Sunday at CrimeCon Nashville, Jamie, she might be popping on from Murderish, one of her girlfriends. Like by the end of the weekend, like everybody, you know, you've done the rounds, you know each other now.
Yeah.
So one of her friends was sitting at her table with her. And so I'd like, you know, gone, introduced myself. We chatted with Jamie, we chatted with her friend. On Sunday, she walks by, like literally just walking through the hall with like a White Claw in her hand. And I was like, oh girl, like just kidding. I was like, where did you get that White Claw? And she's like, it's under the table. And so like I look over at Esther and I was like, she's like, go get one. I was like, okay. And so I like just bring it back to the table. I like obviously not like chugging it right there in front of everyone. But by, you know, end of the day on Sunday, it's like, screw it. We're all
Free for
fam.
all.
In the club, we
Yeah.
all fam.
Yeah. See, we're gonna be okay next year because we have Mama Esther to look after us, don't we? Esther's gonna
Oh,
look after
Esther,
us.
you're going to CrimeCon UK.
Yeah. I've been to everyone except for the last one. Yeah, I think CrimeCon UK and most of the
But-
CrimeCon US. So yep.
But yeah, when we was going to the one this year, it was our first ever one.
Mhm.
You know, obviously we've only been going a year, and I was looking at the names of the people who was going, and when I saw Esther, I was like, oh, we're okay. And then I saw Emily from Morbidology, and I'm like, oh, we're okay with her as well.
Yeah.
And then Esther ducked out, Emily ducked
Oh,
out.
Emily didn't go either, huh? That's right. Yeah.
So when we got there, I was
We
like,
always
I
went,
don't
me and
know
Emily,
anyone.
but we were always there. That's weird.
And so obviously I don't know how big these other I don't know anything about true crime, let
Mhm.
alone like the other podcasters. And so Megan kept telling me about Generation Y's going. They're like huge.
Right.
Like I won't be able to talk to them. I walked straight over to him, no shame, and just started talking to him. In
He
fact,
wasn't awestruck because he had no idea who they were.
Yeah.
but the best thing is, we was in a hotel in a bar, and I was talking to Aaron, and I was like, you know, if you ever need any podcasting tips, you know, come to me. I'll give you some tips. And I said, yeah, I'll buy you a drink. What did he get? A rum and coke?
Yeah, he likes
Ended up costing
rum
me
and
about
coke.
40 quid for this rum and coke. It's like that. I don't know if we're gonna be able to fly home.
I'm never going to financially
Oh,
recover
house.
from this.
Oh my gosh, spot on.
Yeah, Aaron was. I invited him to come on, and he would have, but he was. He had an appointment at this time, so he had to drive to someplace, and so he wasn't
Yeah.
able to come on. But yeah, no, he's really fun to talk to. Aaron. Yeah, Aaron will stay. He'll be the last one at the bar always.
Yeah.
Yes.
Always.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were about
Yeah.
1 a.m.
Mhm.
and the hotel bar was like, we close at midnight.
Yeah.
Go away. And everyone were like, rooftop bar. We'll go to the rooftop bar.
Yeah. But what did we do at the U?
Um,
Remember in the UK? Was it the UK? Yeah, when we were in the hotel bar and they were closing, and then somebody ran to the store, and we stood outside. Remember?
Yeah,
We were just
no, we
passing
went to
around
the front
bottles.
lobby area where they sold beer, and we
Yeah.
just like went outside into their parking lot, and then we were just like drinking beers. Everyone was like smoking their vape, like just being silly at this point. We were like getting like fun videos and stuff. Like, yeah, it was. We were
Yeah,
like,
the party
party's not
doesn't
over
end.
yet. Yeah,
doesn't
party's
end.
not over yet. And then Vegas, oh my gosh,
Oh, Vegas was crazy.
I think the earliest Esther and I ever went to sleep in Vegas was like 4:20 in the
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
Because you're
It's
just in the
crazy.
hotel the whole entire time. You're in the bar, one bar here, one bar there. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning one morning, and Esther and I look at each other. We're like, we haven't eaten all day. We should probably go get some food. And then we're leaving, walking by the bar. Oh, come on, come get a drink. Okay, like
Yeah. Then we
every
ran
and then
ran into Justin from Gen Y, and he was like, I'm starving. Oh, we're starving. Let's go.
yeah.
He's like, I need a burrito now.
I am hoping CrimeCon goes back to Vegas. I'm so
Oh
hoping.
man, I don't know.
It was wild. Everybody got COVID too.
Oh, yep, I got COVID.
Everybody got
Oh,
COVID.
man.
Got home, everybody was sick. Everybody, like it was like everybody was off the next week from their podcast because everybody had COVID.
Yes.
It was
See,
like,
when
oh my
when we
God.
was at CrimeCon in London, we got talking to another American podcast, Body Bags, and they looked at our logo and they were saying, if they do CrimeCon in New Orleans,
Oh yeah.
you need to get yourself there. Your logo will
Yeah.
blow up
Yeah.
in New Orleans. And they were saying about putting like different hats and stuff on the skeletons, weren't they?
Mm.
That would be cute.
Do we do New Orleans twice for CrimeCon? I think so, right?
I've never been to the New Orleans one, but I do remember at least one.
Okay. 'Cause
Like,
I think
the promotion
we've
for
been there
that.
twice. That was really fun. It was really fun. Or maybe it was Nashville twice. in New
It has
Orleans
been
twice.
Nashville twice. Yes.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. Nashville
But
twice.
Esther will definitely have to look after us if we're going to CrimeCon in America.
You guys,
I will have your back as well. I will take care of
Yes.
both of you.
Please do.
oh man. So it's 11 a.m. here in California. So I did a mimosa drink. But I wanted something with a little bit more kick because it's like, okay, bubbles and juice. That's okay. When the kitties are around. But this one actually has vanilla vodka and cranberry juice. And then you're supposed to top it with Prosecco. So that's what I just opened right now. I hadn't had that. So all right.
Nice.
And then you could just keep, I don't know how sweet it's going to be. I don't really like super sweet drinks, so I thought, well, you can just keep topping it with this.
Well, cranberry juice is always okay.
Cranberry juice is pretty tart, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're supposed to like stick this little cranberries in there to make it
Cute.
fancy.
Oh, look how fancy.
Oh, she's putting.
Cheers.
So decadent.
Cheers.
Salut. Happy holidays.
So did you say you had a mini like story or something? Did I hear that right, Megan?
Who?
Us.
Oh yeah.
We've got kind of like a dumb criminal type one.
Okay.
You want to get into it now or?
Yeah.
Gotta appreciate a dumb criminal.
Yes.
We all. Okay, so I've given this one the title of The Reverse Grinch. We're going to head to Vandalia, Ohio for the story. Anyone familiar with that area? No?
I've never left Europe.
Great.
I know Ohio's very flat, right? It's very flat. All I
I
know
know,
about
I know.
Ohio is that True Crime Garage from there. That's all I know.
All I know is that
That's it for Ohio.
that's
Okay,
where
so
LeBron
maybe they're
James is
familiar.
from as well.
Yes. So on Friday, the 11th of November, 2011, a 44-year-old man named Terry Trent was walking down the street when he spotted a house and thought to himself, you know what? I'm just going to let myself in there and have a little look inside. So he heads towards the house and he lets himself in through the back door. And once inside, he was horrified to see that this family were yet to start decorating for the festive season. So with that, Terry knew what he had to do. He starts to decorate the family's home, and he also put the TV on, just for a little bit of background noise as you work. I think we all do that. But mind you, he had the volume on full blast, blaring out the house. So not so much background as much as bursting his eardrums. Either way, Terry didn't just focus his his creativity on the inside of the home. He made sure the outside was looking tip top as well, a bit like Esther's home. So he made sure to hang a wreath on the door to the garage. And I don't know about you guys, but it's something that I always do when I finish cleaning is, I don't know why, it's like a finishing touch. I light a candle.
Mhm.
That's kind of the marker for me.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, that's kind of like, right, I can relax now. I can enjoy this moment. This is my
Clean.
peace.
Smells
Smells
clean. Yeah.
Did you know what I do? I
Mhm.
like tug on my waist and go, yep.
Job
done,
well done.
Done.
So Terry had the same idea. He decided to light a candle and he placed one on the kitchen counter and placed one on the coffee table in the sitting room.
I know where this is going.
What?
Because you said kitchen counter.
Yeah.
Gas, he's going to put gas on stove. Or
No,
something.
no.
Oh.
It's not that catastrophic.
Okay.
Jesus, Neil, calm down. It's Christmas now. So, like I said, he lights the candle and then he sits back to just relax and admire his work. So he sat on the sofa and watching TV, and I take a guess there was nothing good on TV. So Terry decides to help himself to some of the toys that are in the house, whatever the kids had lying about. He's like, right, I'll just have a look, see what I can get into here. Now, not long after this, that Terry's made himself at home, one of the residents enters the home. Now, the resident in question was the 11-year-old boy whose toys he was playing with at the time. So this kid walks in, finds Terry completely unknown to him, sat there basically rifling through his belongings. It's not the most easy feeling, wouldn't you say? So the kid is like, yeah, no, like let's not do this. So he runs next door to the neighbors where he knows his mother is. They then call the police, who arrest Terry, and he was charged with burglary. Now, the burglary thing, I don't know if that's just depending on the state. That was the nearest
He didn't
charge.
nick anything.
No, he did not. It must just
Did he
be in that
eat
state.
or
It
drink
was-
anything in the house?
Yeah.
It's breaking and entering, but it's not burglary.
Mhm.
Yeah. He just
He
played
didn't
with a few
nick
toys.
anything.
I mean, the nearest would probably be arson, no, with the light in the candle.
No, breaking and
closest.
entering would
It's
be
a bit
the
of a stretch.
closest.
A little stretch, yeah.
But anyway, they called the police and Terry is arrested. But it was said that he went willingly. And I mean, apart from the initial break-in, he was no trouble at all.
Did they ask him, what are you taking?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
So while they were arresting him, they did note that he was very mannerly. He was really polite when speaking with the child in particular. And before he left, he said to the young lad, quote, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. I'll get my things and go." Now, you see, for me, that kind of throws a spanner in the works because when he says, "I'll get my things and go," does that mean that Terry came with the decorations in hand? I assumed he had rifled through their stuff. Did he come prepared, ready to decorate?
Are you sure he wasn't Santa?
Yeah.
Well, see,
Was
this
he
is
real life Santa?
We should have got him to put the bloody tree up the other
We should have given Terry a call.
Honestly, Terry could have started a whole
needed
side
help.
hustle. Like, do you need last minute decorations? Call Terry. Like,
Well, that was the thing. So, although Terry was said to have been very polite when speaking with the child, police did search him and they did find a knife on him at the time. But it was a pocket knife. It wasn't like
Oh.
a machete or something. It wasn't,
Okay.
you know.
And what-
but still.
And what drugs did he have?
Right. Okay. So the reason for Terry's strange behavior of like forcing this family to really celebrate and enjoy the festive spirit,
Cocaine.
it might.
Cocaine.
No.
No.
Do you want to go one up?
No.
Maybe not one up, maybe 2 or 3 up.
2 or 3 up.
Crack.
Yeah.
Cocaine's
Heroin?
pretty up there. Heroin.
Bath salts.
Oh no,
Oh.
not bath salts.
Yeah.
not bath salts. Yeah.
Well, police also did state that Terry had a history of drug-related charges. Someone who actually worked with Terry did describe him as a very kind, caring person, but had noted that in the last day or so, you know, he hadn't been acting like himself and seemed, quote, mentally unstable.
Sorry, can I just ask?
Mhm.
Am I missing something here? How is bath salts 2 or 3 up from cocaine?
Well, I remember.
Okay, well,
Do you remember that? I mean, this was a famous one here in the U.S. in Florida. that there was the guy that was on bath salts that went into somebody's garage and like ate their face or something.
I was gonna say
Yes.
this sounds familiar. Like ate their
Yeah.
Yeah.
cheeks. These
Yeah.
cheeks.
Florida, away.
Well, not
Look.
surprising, but yeah.
Neil, I apologize. I'm not like completely well versed in like the level.
Oh, so
Of
it's the same
drugs.
as so years ago, before I moved here in the UK, they called it MCAT, and there was like, oh, it's this new drug. It was plant fertilizer. That's what it was, so it's the same thing. Like they just found a legal product, but when you take it, it
Well, again,
sends you.
I don't know a huge amount about drugs, but if I hear bath salts, it's like, all right, I take a step back. I don't want nothing
Yeah.
to do with that.
So bath
not my
salts is like on the
business.
same level as like PCP.
That's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say. Yeah.
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 You don't mess
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, outside of his hobby of decorating unsuspecting strangers' homes, Terry was involved in survival training and was a scoutmaster at his church. So, again, hopefully that can explain away the pocket knife, and there was no ulterior motive there. Now, that's pretty much the story with Terry in that instant. But while looking into Terry, the aspiring home decorator, I did stumble upon his obituary.
Oh.
I don't know if sadly is the right word. I'll say sadly. He didn't do anything that bad.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah,
trying to
no,
bring
not at all.
Christmas spirit. Yeah, sadly he passed away in 2019. So, lads, I think it's time to raise a glass for Terry this Christmas, and don't forget to hang your wreath. And that is the story of how Terry enforced Christmas. Huh?
Pour one out
Good
for
old
Terry.
For Terry.
To the
There's
homies.
been worse crimes. No.
It's like it's the reverse Grinch. He
Yeah.
came in and was like, "Come on, enjoy it, lads. Come on, get the wreath up."
Fucking hell. Oh, sorry. Am I allowed to?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Where's
goes the rest
Terry
of the
when you
tree.
need him?
Oh my goodness.
I couldn't
tried
have
to
been
help.
more perfect.
I tried to
You're
help.
gonna get electrocuted.
There's batteries everywhere.
Oh gosh.
Oh my
Getting
god.
unhinged.
We still have the LEDs, so
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
all
We
good.
can still see you guys.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the swear.
Did the tree go out too? The lights go out?
Yes.
Oh my.
Oh
I'm
no,
sorry.
it's still lit.
Is it still lit?
Oh, yeah. The
Oh, I
tree.
can't
Oh,
tell.
I guess because you could see it more with the other light. Oh my god.
Oh, that's funny.
I have more of a morbid Christmas tale that I recently came across. You might have heard of it, Esther. It happened in Covina, California. It's called the Covina Christmas Massacre, and it happened on Christmas Eve in 2008 in Covina, California. It's like a small suburb, 22 miles out of LA, so still kind of in the city. Anyways, December 24th, 2008, around 25 family members. This is one thing that like really stuck out to me. The family is big. They were a Hispanic family. And so like I just put myself in that situation. Like my Christmases are minimum 22 people. Like we're all hosting, my mom's hosting this year and my husband's coming this year. We're gonna have more people there. So it's probably gonna be like 35 this year. So I'm just like trying to picture this. I'm like, oh my God, this poor family. Anyways, they meet at Sylvia Pardo's parents' house on No Hell Crest Drive for their annual Christmas party. The Ortegas, Sylvia's parents, they hosted a Christmas party every year. And like I said, they were a huge family and the family would always get together for this. It was pretty common that they would have a Santa come to their door and, you know, oh ho ho, here's presents, blah, 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 blah. So around 9:30, families playing poker, they're playing games, doing all the thing. They hear a knock at the door. It's Santa coming in with like the presents and everything. Well, as soon as he puts the gun down, or just ruined it. As soon as he puts the presents down, he pulls out two guns, two 9mm semi-automatic handguns. The little girl who had opened the door, he shot her right in the face. Thankfully, it wasn't fatal, but she was severely injured. He entered the house and then just began firing, killing 9 people and wounding everyone else in the house. After the shootings, he still wasn't done. This Santa brought more. He brought a homemade flamethrower and set the entire house on fire. He pretty much, yeah. The fire reached over 40 feet high, and the people that were in the home, the burn victims, were burned so badly that they had to use dental records to identify the bodies after all was said and done. And the photos of this house is just awful, like completely burnt to crisp, charred. One of the victims was Sylvia Ortega Prado. Strangely, her ex-husband was found about 22 miles away, shot dead early Christmas morning. So now, December 25th, his brother found him. And like I said, this was Sylvia Ortega's ex-husband. But when he was found with severe burn marks on him all over his arm. He had like weird red and white, kind of like this fuzzy material burned onto his ankles, and then like this like red stuff like cinched onto his clothing. And so immediately they were like, wait, was he the Santa dressed up as him? And sure enough, investigators discovered that on December 18th, Sylvia and Bruce Prado was the man's name. They had finally finalized their divorce. It was cited as inconcealable differences, and apparently Bruce was super bitter about the divorce. When he was also found with $17,000 in cash and a plane ticket to Canada. So they assumed that he was trying to like flee the country. But fortunately, he was able to have this crime go down at the Ortega's house. And instead of thinking that he was shot dead like his brother thought, he committed suicide and shot himself in the face.
Oh, so they thought he was one of the victims, maybe?
They
Oh,
thought
okay.
someone else was tied to it at first,
Oh,
but
okay.
then they were able to determine that it was a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And yeah, there was 9 people killed, including Sylvia, her parents who hosted this party. Thankfully, like I said, that 8-year-old little girl who answered the door survived, but really, really traumatic, very scary.
You know, that's always something to me. It's like when something like this, especially like a family annihilator or like a mass shooting and stuff, and there is a target, but obviously his target was his ex-wife, right? Why go and like, just kill everybody, including children? That's just, I've never understood that. Like, what is the motivation for that?
Yeah, and by all accounts, he seemed like when his brother found him, he was genuinely worried, like, oh my gosh, like whoever did this to the Ortegas did this to my brother as well. He was, I have this somewhere. He was an electrical engineer. And so it's not like he was just like some deadbeat, guy. But he was able to make the homemade flamethrower. He was a really smart guy. It was said that he had been one of the Santas in the past, like when they were still married. So he was like really involved in the family and everything. Like I said, the whole Santa coming to the door wasn't anything new. Like they expected somebody to come. And he was very involved in the Ortega family when they were married. So yeah, like to go that deep, one, to kill your ex-wife, but like Esther said, to kill children too and the rest of the family, and
on Christmas.
Yeah.
That's something
crazy.
Yeah. That one I've heard of that one before. I have never researched it, but I did. I remember years ago when I was looking for the Holiday Homicides series. That was one that I had come across, and but I'm I'm doing a different one instead of that one. I can't remember why, but yeah, the West Covina Massacre, I think they call it.
Yeah. And just the arson too. Like, yes, shooting is terrible, to shoot, people point blank in the face, but then to light someone's home on fire, like that is just like so malicious. Like, let me take not only your loved ones, but especially, like I said, it was at the parents' home. I mean, I don't know how long they lived there, but you can only imagine that their children grew up in this home, all the memories and stuff that were made there. Like, obviously all the memories are gone. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, just the home being, like I said, the photos of it were just absolutely heartbreaking because of how charred and just completely incinerated it was.
Yeah, that kind of story like that would be something that it would bug me unless I could like went back and figured out like what was up with this guy. Like, was there any warning signs? What did he have any kind of, mental instability before that? All of that kind of stuff, because you don't just, okay, I'm getting divorced, I'm going to go annihilate the whole family. There's got to be something else there.
Yeah.
Like
the only thing that I saw about their divorce, other than the differences, were that, they just like grew apart. And so Sylvia had 3 children that, once they got married, he adopted and everything. But apparently he had like hidden a son from her, and it wasn't until years later that came out. But she was like upset about it, like, how could you hide this from me? But it wasn't like, the end of the world. But yeah, as far as like any mental history there, like, I didn't see any of that.
Interesting.
Well, I have one. It's not quite a Christmas Day or Christmas Eve story, but it has some kind of holiday ties to me, and I'll kind of explain why. This was the case that I actually covered on my channel way early on when I started. And so when I first started YouTube, I was like so scared to do lives. So I like filmed all my episodes. So this is one where it's not interactive. And so I just kind of talked through the case. Have any of y'all heard of the Charles Stuart case out of Boston?
Yeah, is that the one, the bridge?
No.
Okay.
Oh, the bridge. Yes. Sorry, I thought you said the Grinch.
Oh.
The bridge. Yeah. Yeah. So
the Grinch, but yeah, on the
so
bridge.
there's a few kind of December ties to it for me. So the bridge that Charles, and I'll tell you guys about a little bit about the case. The bridge that Charles actually committed suicide and jumped over was the Tobin Bridge. And growing up every holiday season, going to visit family in Boston, we would like different side, we would drive over the Tobin Bridge. And of course, like I've always been into true crime. I'm convinced I walked out of the womb being into true crime. Of course, my parents will always be like, this is the bridge the guy jumped. And I'm like 5 years old. I'm like, okay. Yeah, no, I've always been into true crime. Now it's just okay to talk about. Back when I was a kid, not so much. But anyway, so and to kind of recap the case. So in 1989, Charles Stuart had been expecting a baby with his wife. So it was his first baby with his wife. But on October 23rd, they were driving home from a childbirth class at the Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston, and they were driving through Roxbury, which is not the best of neighborhoods back then. And what happened was a 911 phone call was placed, and Charles had said to the police that a young adult African-American male had basically carjacked them and ordered them to drive to Mission Hill, robbed them, shot Charles in the stomach, and shot Carol in the head. So what Charles didn't quite know was at the time there was that TV show Rescue 911. It was a reality TV series. They happened to be with law enforcement that night filming. So Charles didn't expect that. But it became pretty clear that Charles' story didn't really add up. But before police realized that, it was horrible because he was, outlining, yes, this is the individual that did that. And even during a lineup, like there was 2 different men. He's like, I think those are the men that did this. So it created a huge, just negative impact, race-wise in Boston, because again, back in the 80s, it was horrible. It was horrible that this community is now being blamed for this. And in the end, we learned that Charles had his brother involved, and Charles was the one that was behind it. So he was the one that had his wife murdered. So when police were finally able to get enough to say this is him and go to arrest him, he ultimately, there's obviously little details in between, but in a nutshell, he drove to the Tobin Bridge and killed himself. And jumped over and killed himself. The thing is, like, the brother knew what had happened, and the brother's the one that actually did eventually go to police. And there was this whole insurance fraud scam that was going on too, that Charles had asked his brother to help him with. Charles was just a horrible, horrible person. So what happened after the fact, so this was back in 89, more recently in 2023, it was pretty recent. Yeah, December 21st, 2023, there was, I think it was on Netflix, there was some documentary about this case.
Mhm.
And
Oh, that's
after that, our mayor of Boston, Mayor Wu, made a public announcement, basically apology to the families, the two African-American male families who were blamed for this at the time and had to, endure what they went through. Because even if, though they were clear, there was still this just now racial tension in the city that just stayed.
right.
So it was just very interesting that just last December, a year ago tomorrow, that Mayor Wu made those public statements and those apologies. And both of the family members of those individuals did come to that. It's actually public. It's on YouTube. You can see the apology speech that she does to their families. But it's just horrible that it's just one horrible asshole that just had to, just the conflict and what he created just was devastating, not just to his family, but to innocent individuals, and what it wreaked now, creating racial tension in Boston.
Yeah.
So
It's always that when you see those cases where it's like there's a, intruder, a carjacker, or whatever comes in, and it's like the woman, the wife or whatever, gets killed, and the husband or the man just gets wounded. You're like, nope.
Yeah.
Like, nope.
Yeah.
Husband did it. That doesn't happen. They're gonna take out the biggest threat first. They're not gonna, it's just not gonna happen. So
yeah,
I think that was one of the first. But yeah, that Rescue 911 or whatever that was show, that was crazy. That was like, this guy was probably like shitting a brick, because he's like, what? Because here they come, and he's got to get this story out. Like, this is what.
and there's a
happened.
camera crew.
There's a camera crew there.
Yeah.
Like, talk about karma, man. That's crazy.
For real.
Yeah,
that was.
I believe they made a Lifetime movie about this case, I want to say.
Yeah,
there's some type of either TV movie or Lifetime movie, because I remember watching it. It was soon after, and I was still a kid when that happened.
Yeah.
Well,
we talked to Adrian Walker. He's a journalist with the Boston Globe, and he was a journalist back then. He's an African American man, and he actually did a podcast series about that case, but specifically about the way it affected the African American community at the time, because it was already, like you said, a lot of racial tension, and then him saying that really blew things up, because he even named a couple of people.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's one thing like Susan Smith, with the one that drove her kids into the lake and said that a carjacker did it or something. It's one thing that she just said, oh, it was an African American man, but she didn't point to anybody. She gave a very general description.
This podcast details.
And, it's like, but this guy, actually went in a lineup and pointed out people and said, oh yeah, I think that's the guy. Oh my gosh, really? Dude.
Yeah.
Like that's beyond, evil to do something like that. So that was crazy.
Esther, so I know you said like you guys like in Lorena too, in regards to, well, actually all of you had mentioned about like just, covering the cases that you do, being caught up with kind of what's happening in true crime now isn't always, you're not always in the loop about that. But Susan Smith just came up for parole. I don't know if you guys all heard about that.
I think I did see that. Yeah. She's still a mess. She's
oh, 100% no accountability. I was so mad, but I digress.
Yeah.
Another one that's coming up for parole in March of 2025 is Yolanda Salvador, the Selena murder. I don't know, Neil and Megan, if you guys are familiar with Selena. Yeah. You guys are
like, no, never heard of.
So basically, if it's not Ed Gein, Jeffrey Dahmer,
you know who Selena is?
Selena
Quintanilla,
singer,
singer.
Bitty bitty bum bum.
Like, think of it. Right.
He's like, no.
Yeah.
Okay, J-Lo.
Simon Cowell's Selena.
No.
That's Selena Gomez.
Selena. Everybody thinks, younger people always think it's that Selena.
What?
Yeah. She was okay. Remember, J-Lo played her in the movie.
Exactly. J-Lo played her in the movie. Selena is the original J-Lo. Do you get what I mean? Like, she is. Selena is like
And someone killed her.
Iconic.
Yes.
Yeah.
She spoke. She sang in Spanish and English. She was a Tejano singer, but she crossed over to U.S. and she's had music in English as well. She was actually, Mexican American, not from Mexico, but that was her.
Wasn't her first language English, and then she learned Spanish.
Her language is English. Yeah, she had to learn Spanish for her audition.
She only knew how to like sing in Spanish, and then as she got more famous and everything and doing interviews, she had to learn Spanish. And I actually recently, like just the other day, just scrolling, I saw an interview with her, and her Spanish was beautiful, just the way she spoke. Like you wouldn't guess that her second language was Spanish because she just like spoke so clearly in Spanish. But yeah, you guys might have to watch that movie, Neil and Megan.
So
I still cry.
It's a good
just
movie.
for any new viewers now. So I'm not joking when we say I know nothing about true crime. That's the whole point of our podcast. So I'm not acting. I don't know about that case. Are we covering that?
Or music sounds
Or music. Well, I did say Simon Cowell's Sabrina.
Selena.
Sorry.
Sabrina, the teenage witch. Same thing.
Because there was a Selena who Simon Cowell was with.
Yes.
Friend. Yeah.
Everybody, whenever you mention Selena now, because a lot of younger people, they always think, "Oh, Selena." No, not that one.
Yeah.
She was actually. I heard she was actually named after her.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah, she was actually.
But Selena Gomez was named after.
Yeah.
The OG Selena.
Yeah. I heard anyway.
But
So,
before we did the podcast, I'd only heard of like Ed Gein, Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, the big ones.
Right.
But still, in fact, talking to Ted Bundy, so we've been doing this podcast, a true crime podcast we've been doing for a year. And you only just told me something about the Bundy case I'd never heard. But you were looking at me like I was the idiot because I didn't know it.
She just always looks at you that way.
It's just my face. I can't help it.
It's just her face.
That he was see, this is a live
Necrophilia.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how did you miss that? Like,
As far as I knew,
documentaries you
Ted
watched.
Bundy like climbed through windows and then did the crime.
he did more than that. Like,
I don't know about any. Was it windows? Or did you just walk in?
Yeah, I felt like he was like invited, like willingly.
Well, a lot of times he abducted people from the streets or
Like from their car.
in their car.
They were trying to help him because he was like in a cast or something.
Yeah, he had this ruse that he needed help, and then they would follow him close enough to where he could grab him, and
See, I thought it was Ted Bundy who started off as a peeping Tom.
He may have, but
I thought he. I don't know.
He did break into some houses and assault women that way.
Yeah. Well, we first really kind of, he came out as a serial killer was always in around colleges, universities, sorority houses or communal homes where students were living, things like that, where women were, living in these communal houses, stuff like that. He would, those were some of them. Some of them, he abducted them from other places. So yeah, he pretty much was just it was really a crime of opportunity for him. He would see somebody and
I just wanted to clear that up because
you just want to clear that up. Esther, I did get from
So basically I'm the complete opposite to Esther. So Esther knows everything and everything about true crime. I messaged her.
Well, I'm much older than you too, Neil, so I have a little bit more.
Listen to this. I messaged Esther the other day and I said, "Did you hear about the update with Conor McGregor?" She went, "Who?" Never heard of Conor McGregor.
I was like, "Who are you talking about? What is this?"
Yeah, but that's
I'm telling you the new stuff, and especially like you told me, like he's some kind of
the most popular MMA fighter.
Oh, MMA.
See, I don't know anything. You have to talk to Aaron about that. Aaron would know. Aaron.
He did a crime con. They were getting into all that.
See,
me and Aaron, we got into a dispute about who's. So he waited until he'd got a couple of drinks in me, and then he's like, "Who's the greatest boxer of all time?" And I was like,
"That you up?
Floyd Mayweather, hands down." And he went, "It's Sugar Ray Leonard." And I'm like, if you put them in the ring against each other in time, Floyd Mayweather would knock the shit out. I think I said. But yeah, I couldn't believe it when you were like, who?
Yeah, and I don't know anything about, MMA, so I would have no clue.
No, but
even if
was
they
the
were say, oh, this happened, I'd be like, okay, that's a name, but I don't know who that is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even if I knew about the crime, I
yeah,
wouldn't know who he was in
yeah.
connection to that.
It's
You know what I mean?
like the only thing on the news over here now is Conor McGregor.
Oh,
That's
okay.
it.
Yeah.
Actually, I do have something that's in the news now. This is shocking, the Republic of Ireland at the moment. So we have a site called RIP.ie, and it's basically just a site for death notices.
Mhm.
And it's always been free to use. That's what you do. You go on and check it. Just someone dies, you go on and check it. Starting from January, they are charging €100 per notice. It's always been free,
Mhm.
and it's now suddenly €100. Like, there's war over this. People are going mental. I don't know. I think that's very.
What's obituaries?
Yeah, like a death
Okay.
notice. Yeah. I don't know. Like, people are not happy about this. It'd be different if they went from no charge to a €5 charge or 10, but 0 to 100.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Real quick.
Yeah.
What is it in America?
In America, you pay
Like-
for everything. There's never anything
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
I was like, what do we know anything is free? No, nothing's free. Nothing. I mean, obituaries, like I remember it was
Well, they used to be
my
in the newspaper, right?
grandmother-in-law, they were going to do an obituary. It was like $600
Oh, whoa. I didn't
for
know.
like maybe it was like 4 or 5 paragraphs.
But you're saying to print one. I think what you're getting at is to access them. Am I understanding that right?
To actually
Yeah,
put
it's a
one, like to
site.
post one, or to
Yeah, it's a site called RIP.ie. So it's not even like, like obviously in the newspaper it'd be a bit more expensive.
right.
But this is a site that's like become massive. And now that they're so big and everyone uses them, they've suddenly gone, right,
Oh,
well, let's
okay.
charge for it. And it's
like
like,
Wow.
Wikipedia, right? Like Wikipedia, if they started
Yeah.
charging $100 to get on
Basically.
there, that would
Yeah.
that would be an issue, right?
Wait, so it's always cost money to put an obituary in a newspaper?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I thought like,
It's like putting in a want ad or anything.
oh,
like that.
yeah, I guess that's true.
You have to
Yeah.
pay.
I've heard they charge by the word. Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
how it works?
Oh my gosh.
What?
It's crazy.
That's why it was so much, because they were, they're putting information about like her life and and here's her
Yeah.
grandkids'
Well, that's
names,
when-
And
and they're like,
That's when you get the thesaurus out, so you get longer words. If you're paying by the
Yeah.
word, I'm getting my money's worth.
they start charging by the letter, and you're
Yeah.
getting
by the character. Yeah.
That would happen to Neil.
oh my gosh.
Oh gosh. Neil, so it's funny, you remind me of one of my friends who does not watch my podcast, doesn't watch my YouTube channel, not into true crime, but like, what was it, like a few weeks ago, he was like, hey, have you heard of Scott Peterson? And I'm like, wow.
I bet he doesn't know who that
This
is.
is what gets you into true crime. That's great, but you're a little bit behind.
Who's Scott
Neil,
Peterson?
please tell me you've heard of Scott Peterson.
No.
No, he hasn't.
No.
I can tell by his
Oh.
face.
Who's Scott Peterson? Is he the one with the
Lacey
submarine?
Peterson.
No.
his
We
wife
covered
went
him.
missing on
No, we
Christmas
didn't.
Eve, and a Christmas Eve, Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, his wife went missing.
Christmas Eve, yeah.
Christmas Eve, and he said he came home from fishing or golfing or what. His story kept changing, and then she was just missing for 4 months, but the investigators suspected pretty quickly that he was involved, and again, husband did it, and then just the way he was acting, it was just very weird. Long drawn out case, but finally, and she was pregnant. She was also like 8 months pregnant, and like 4 months later, and that was right here in Northern California, not too far away. The first thing was somebody walking their dog along the bayshore, found what looked like the body of a baby, like a fetus. They found that, and then like I think a day or two later, her body or part of her body washed up on shore too. So that was her and the baby. So that case. So he ended up getting convicted. He's in death row here in San Quentin. But his case is actually going up for review as well, because people are trying to reinvestigate, because it was a circumstantial evidence case. I mean, there was no confession, no eyewitnesses. Her, her body, of course, had degraded to such a, they couldn't even tell how she died. All of that kind of stuff. So, but this guy, I mean, just look up Scott Peterson and just watch an interview with him. He is so like wooden, like absolutely no emotion. There is something really off about this guy. Like, it's
listen to the phone call with Amber Fry, the Paris phone call.
Oh yeah. And then they find out this while they're investigating, they find out because of her that he had a girlfriend, a secret girlfriend. She didn't know he was married at all. He had lied to her. She lived in another town, a little ways away. And when she saw, because it became a huge news story here, this woman's missing, and she saw, these news reports, and or somebody told her, like, isn't that Scott, like the guy you're dating, your boyfriend or whatever? She's like, what? So she looks up, she's like, oh my God. So she went to authorities right away. And so they had her wired because he was calling her all the time and still lying to her about everything. So finally she was like, your wife, you were married. Like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, it was the first year my wife would be gone. Or he just said all of his shit, meanwhile, everything was being recorded. So it's really interesting to see. But yeah, there was one where he was at a candlelight vigil for her because, they're still looking for her. And he's pretending, he calls the girlfriend from the candlelight vigil saying that he's his was on New Year's Eve. He's in Paris
at the Eiffel Tower,
underneath the Eiffel Tower, and he's reporting from Paris. But meanwhile, he's in Modesto at the, his missing wife's vigil. Like for it's like this guy is just off the chain, just out there, man.
So basically, Danielle's friend is like me going up to someone and going, "Have you heard of Ed Gein? Is it that bad?"
I mean, kind of. It's a pretty well-known case.
Yeah. So speaking of well-known cases, I wanted to do really briefly because I wanted to get, this is a case that's been around forever. The JonBenet Ramsey case it's a, Christmas, happened on Christmas, and all of that. And there's new things that have come out about it. I watched the Netflix special. I watched the 2020 special here about it. Netflix is called Cold Case: Who Killed JonBenet Ramsey. The 2020 that came out just last Friday was called Forever Young: Who Killed JonBenet Ramsey. Again, it's this whole thing about this child. Parents go to these holiday parties, come home to their home in Boulder, Colorado, beautiful home. They live in this big home. Father's an executive he owns a company. The little girl, the mom, there's two little younger kids, a 9-year-old son, and JonBenet's 6. They come home from these holiday parties, put the kids to bed. In the morning, she finds a ransom note, and that they had taken the little girl. The little girl's gone. And then, so they call the police, all the stuff. Ransom note says, we want money. We'll be contacting you. And then within a few hours, police come, all this kind of stuff. They start doing the investigation. They find the little girl's body in the basement of their own home. So then it becomes this whole thing, like what really happened, right? So this, pretty famous. There's a lot of stuff about it. Some people from the beginning thought the parents were involved. Some people said no, an intruder was involved. Later on, years later, that was like, oh, maybe the son did it. The 9-year-old, somehow accidentally killed his sister or on purpose or whatever, and the parents covered it up. And there's lots of reasons why, because there's so many things. Feels to me like there's always like a red herring anytime you look at a theory about what actually happened. There's something there that's like, yeah, but I can see that maybe this is how it happened, but this doesn't work. So what is this? For me, I could not believe that. Well, there's a first thing. When does it happen when somebody supposedly, takes a kid, supposedly to kidnap this kid, but then they never leave the house with the kid?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense. Like, so that's why they thought it had to be somebody inside. It had to be the parents, somebody, right? And then the ransom note right away became suspect because they found that the ransom note had been written in the house on a legal pad that belonged to the mother, Patsy. And on like the third page of this notepad, they saw like the beginning, like they had started to write this ransom note and then stopped it. And then, wrote apparently on another piece of paper that's in that notepad, but it was still there. So it was like a practice note. Like this all happened inside the house. It wasn't brought from outside. This was her pad, her pen. They knew that. So they're like, okay, so then Patsy wrote the note. They had to have, but why? Like, so did she kill the kid? Okay, that doesn't make sense to me because of the way that she died. Like even if she died accidentally, they staged it with a cord around her neck using a garrote to strangle her. She's a 6-year-old. What parent is going to try to stage a death that horribly, their own child? That makes no sense. So there's always these things. So I watched these to see, like, did they come up with anything? Did anybody else watch any of these or know, like, had any ideas before this? Like, what are we missing here?
Right. I haven't seen the documentaries, but I'm well versed with the case and got to see Mr. Ramsey speak at CrimeCon this year.
Right. I did too. That was very interesting. I never did think that he was involved. I didn't think he was involved. I just didn't get the vibe off him. I wasn't sure about the mom, what was going on there. There's some very strange things about it. Number one for me was the ransom note, of course. Yeah. Number two, because this ransom note is not like we've got your daughter, we'll be contacting you for money. It was like a 2-page ransom note. And I read this one book years ago where the guy went through like all the evidence, and he actually did a timing, like, if you wrote out that letter there at the house from beginning to end, it would have took you at least, just even if you knew what you were going to write already, which who does? I mean, you kind of have to think, right? Would it took like something like 18 minutes to write that note because it was so long. It's like, you're going to sit there trying to get a kid out of the house because you're supposedly going to kidnap her and spend 20 minutes writing a ransom note inside there?
No.
Like that.
And didn't you say they'd started writing it?
Yeah.
And as if they'd made a mistake and started another one.
Yeah. So there was 2, at least.
So it's over 18 minutes.
Right. Exactly. So that doesn't make any sense. You bring the note with you if you're going to leave a note, right?
Yeah. You want to get in and get out. So
yeah. Yeah. So that was one of the things.
And the kids in the house.
Yeah. And then there was just several things. And so I did watch the like I said, the documentary is a 3-part documentary on Netflix. And I didn't feel like there was a lot of new things on it. I think that they mainly trotted it out because it's Christmas. And, this was in 1996. So, it's been a while. But that's why I thought, if Patsy wrote it, why did she write that? Okay.
I recently went down like a TikTok rabbit hole about like the brother theory, and I'm convinced it was the brother. Like, why lose another child?
Careful now.
Yeah. So I said that to Esther, and when I said it to Megan was like, "You've got to be careful because he's active at." Does he sue?
He does.
Yes.
He does.
He sued a bunch of people. Yeah. He's
allegedly.
So, allegedly.
Well, isn't there 2 brothers though?
No, there's the older. Okay, so the adult brother is Andrew Ramsey. He's her half brother. So that was John Ramsey's son from his first marriage. He had 2 daughters and a son from his first marriage, I believe. And then he had Burke and John Benet, which the younger ones with Patsy, because he was married twice. But yeah, I know you're talking about Andrew because he's been on stuff,
Gotcha. Yeah.
And Burke was the 9-year-old at the time when his sister died.
Gotcha. Yeah, just went down a TikTok rabbit hole. That theory. I'm not saying it's true.
Not
saying it's facts. My therapist and I talk a lot about facts, and I'm not saying that's a fact, but
see, okay, so that's the theory that has kind of come out, because people said, well, okay, because there was 2 things. They found that she had been strangled with a garrote. But they also found at the autopsy that she had a huge gash to her head, that her skull, you couldn't see it. Like the skin wasn't really that broken, but the skull was crushed in. I mean, she was 6. Okay, so she's not like, it's not like a hitting an adult. And so they found it again. They don't know what the murder weapon was. They saw a big one of those big mag flashlights that are heavy, like you kind of the cops have those big heavy ones, and they have a lot of batteries in it, so they're heavy. They had that they found on a counter in the kitchen counter, and they thought maybe that was the weapon. And they also found a baseball bat outside that they thought, well, maybe that's the weapon. But both of them were, put through analysis for, evidence and stuff, and they didn't find any evidence that those were actually the murder weapons. That was just a theory. But the theory was, well, maybe he got mad at his sister, hit her with the flashlight. She, died or was close to dying. Maybe the mom heard something, came down, saw this. This is all just a theory, and then tried to, cover it up to basically protect her son, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which would make sense, except for the garrote. Who is going to do that? You're going to do that to your child, like a 6-year-old girl. Plus, they said there was evidence of sexual assault, which I am not completely convinced of.
I agree. I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not convinced of that. They said there was, but the thing is, even the garrote that they found was made out of things that were in the basement, not things that somebody brought with them. It was her, like Patsy's, like, she had some art supplies stuff down there, and it was part of a paintbrush that had been broken off, that they found the other half there, all of this kind of stuff. Everything was from the house. So it's, that's the thing that gets me, though. It's like, I could be pretty convinced, almost 99% convinced, that Patsy wrote the ransom note, but why?
Right.
If she was trying to protect her son, yes, but the garrote makes no sense. Are you telling me that Burke did that? I have a hard time believing that.
Has there ever been anything with handwriting analysis?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there has been. They had handwriting, but the thing about handwriting analysis is so, I don't know if you guys, I just don't think it's that convincing either way. But they did.
It's kind of more of a guideline.
So it's more like blood
Yeah.
splatter when they say there's no. Okay.
Because they had dueling experts, and some said no, it's not her writing, and some said absolutely it's her writing.
Yeah.
I go more with the language of the letters, of how did she write, like what words did she use. Of course, you're going to try to use different things if you're trying to pretend you're somebody else. Language to me is really telling, like the words they use, how they phrase things. So that, but it's, again, you're going to have somebody who really is knowledgeable of that. But there's just some things that stuck out to me. The 911 call where she calls, first of all, this is the thing that I picked up, but I didn't pick up. I think maybe I kind of thought about it, but I didn't really pick up on this until I saw this on the Netflix thing, because they go through the timeline of what happens. It's like before 6 a.m. and they're getting ready because they had come home like that night before, but gone to bed late around 10 or whatever. For kids, that's late, and all of that. And then she comes down in the morning, and she finds the ransom note. So she's the first one downstairs, and she said, "Now, my routine was to come downstairs." And they have this big house, so they have this back staircase. It's like this circular, one of those that goes down to the kitchen. It's a back staircase, not a main staircase like in the living room or something like that. And so she comes down the staircase to go to the kitchen, and she finds the ransom note on the step of the staircase. And first thing I thought was, who knew that was her routine? Why would they put it there?
Yeah.
Unless they knew her and knew what her routine was, they wouldn't have put it there. If they would have put it in the kitchen, it would have been on the counter. I would think it would be in the living room or by the door, something. But I'm like, that's just too familiar.
Yeah.
Somebody who knew her routine, if it wasn't her, it was somebody who knew her very intimately and knew that would put it there, if that's really where she found it. Right. So that was the thing. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, here's another one now. We got to figure out. So that's one of the things. I'm like, so she finds this, and then, okay. So the the 2-page ransom note has all the shit in it, right? Extraneous stuff that nobody needs to put in a ransom note. Like, dear Mr. Ramsey, we respect your business, but not the country it serves, or something like that. Who's gonna give compliments to a guy you just kidnapped his daughter?
Yeah.
That makes no sense. Who's writing this shit? Like, I'm like, this is totally sus, right? So that's the first. And then, okay, in the ransom note, they write unequivocally, do not call anybody. Do not call police. If you call the police, she dies. We're watching your house. If we see anybody arrive, she dies. If you do this, we will behead her. It says behead her. It says don't even talk to a stray dog or she dies. I mean, it's very, very. What's the first thing they do? Call 911. Okay, I understand maybe you're panicked, but if I read the letter and it says they're going to behead her if I call it, I mean, is that the first? Not only do they call the police, they call all their friends over.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh,
Yeah, all the friends come to the house, so now they contaminate the crime scene, and that so this messes up the whole investigation from the get. And
Yeah.
John Ramsey says this, like, the investigation was messed up from the get-go. Well, you invited everybody over. Like, you didn't know, like, they had obviously been in the house, if you believe that there were ransom. Why would you let people be tromping through, putting fingerprints everywhere? It's like, oh, maybe we're true crime people, but come on, that's common sense. Okay.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Then she calls they call immediate. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, there's so many cases. It's just by the scene being contaminated, it's destroyed the case.
Right.
Like, one what comes to mind for me straight away is there was a case up in Scotland. Was it Jody Jones?
Josie Jones,
Jo-
wasn't it?
Jody Jones, I think. And basically, her body was found out in like the woods, and the forensic team showed up, and to get to the body, you had to climb over this little wall to get to the body. And the forensic showed up and went, my back's hurting, I can't climb over the wall. So the body was left there for, was it nearly 18 hours in the rain?
Oh, jeez.
So any blood
Throw a
or
tarp.
any,
Just throw a tarp.
exactly.
Anything.
She was like, me back be hurting, so I can't get over that wall. And I mean, this wall was about 3 foot.
Checked her over.
So there was hardly any evidence on the body.
Yeah, it's all washed away.
It just been left overnight in the rain outside. Like,
That's wild. That's pretty irresponsible.
But the best, that was what, in the 90s?
No, 2000s.
Oh, it's in the 2000s. So it's not like, it's not even, when people go, it was back in the 60s. This was the 2000s.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just taking the piss.
A really similar case to the John Benet Ramsey case that Once Upon a Crime has covered is the Rushi Talwar case. It's like the John Benet case of India, essentially. And that happened in 2008, but daughter found murdered in her bed. They called pretty much the entire town to come through. It was like a museum. Like, come in, everyone come see all. The media was in there taking photos, like the whole thing. People were touching all the stuff.
That's crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
And that wasn't, and again, that wasn't like in the 1940s. I mean,
exactly. No, 2008.
Right. Yeah.
Esther, can we just go back a second to the 911 call? Because that's one of the things that's disputed, is that in the back of the call, you can hear the brother.
Right.
And yet when the police came, he was in bed and the police were told that he slept through everything and didn't hear everything. Yes. So that's one of the things too.
Yeah, that is one of the things. And the 911 operator, I think she was on that documentary talking about, what the call was and how she heard that. Because what happened at the end is she hangs up the phone, the mother hangs up the phone, but she doesn't hang up the phone. It's still connected. And so you hear the operator, hello, whatever. And then you hear the male voice, which they believe is John Ramsey, because he's the only adult male in the house. Patsy's voice still. And then you hear Burke's voice. And they said that he was asleep the whole time and they had to wake him up when investigators came. So and it's garbled. They've done this enhancement on it. And most people have said, and I'm not sure, but people have kind of said what he said is, what did you find? That's what the little boy said. And again, it may have said that. It's like one of those things where you listen to those ghost recordings and people think, oh, this is what it said, but you're like, did it really say that? Like,
Yeah, you're like,
you
I didn't
can't
hear
know.
that.
You
It's only
can't
because
make
they put the
anything out of it.
subtitles up. Whatever
Yeah.
subtitles they put up, you're like,
Completely
yeah, I
influenced.
can hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it could
exactly.
have been anything.
So
Like
to
they
me,
did
I
it
can't
on,
quite hear that, but
yeah, they did it on Ghost Adventures where they were saying the ghost said this, but we can't quite make out if it was this or this, and they put both up, and I'm like, it's both because I'm reading it.
Yeah.
It's both.
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like that. It's pretty garbled, but you do
Yeah.
hear a different voice. So you're like, okay, if that was Burke, then they lied about the fact that he was in bed and he didn't know anything that was going on. So that was where kind of this theory starts to spin out about that. But there's also the 911 call. To me, there's some things that Patsy's language is very interesting to me because seems very distraught, she seems panicked, like, and she's even saying, oh my God, like, but it sounds real, like she's really distressed, right?
Yeah.
And then but her language when she calls, the first thing she says is, we have a kidnapping. And I thought, would you say it that way? Wouldn't you say, my daughter's gone, my daughter's missing, somebody took my daughter? What I noticed, and I noticed this years ago, and I kind of gone through like word by word, a few times, and it's like she seems very detached.
Yeah.
As a mother, she seems very detached from her relationship to her daughter, and even just the relationship. So she says, we have a kidnapping, and then they ask, what's your name? And then she says, Patsy Ramsey. I'm the mother. And I'm like, I'm a mother. I don't say I'm the mother. You say, she's my daughter. I'm her mom, or, she never says her name until they ask.
Yeah.
She never says her name, and I could see you say, my baby, my daughter, she says, we have a kidnapping. And then somebody else, I saw this, somebody else brought this up, and then I went back and I said, yeah, that's right, I didn't catch that. She mentions the note in the 911 call more than she mentions her daughter. She mentions the note several times. She says, a note was left behind. She says, in another part of it, she says, we have a note here. And then again, she says, there's a note. But also, she never says, I found a note. Or, she says, a note was left. She doesn't say, I found a note. You know what I mean? It's like there's a disconnect there,
So it's basically like, so I'll say allegedly. This theory.
Patsy's dead, so she can't sue you.
If she's fixating on the note, that to me is she wrote the note.
Yeah.
She really wanted that note to be
Mm-hmm.
the most important thing in the case, like everyone to focus on in the case.
Yes. That's exactly what a forensic linguist would say. That's it. She's fixated on that note because she's connected to that note.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Oh my gosh. So sorry. My
Oh, I didn't hear
crashing
nothing.
around.
Oh, I didn't hear it. And then she said, yeah, there's a note. And then, like I said, they immediately called 911, even though they threatened her if you do any of that. Like I said, the weapon was made in the basement. The note was written in the home. So we're like, this is some kind of inside job or somebody that knew the family. The garrote is a very bizarre weapon to use on a child.
Because that's what Gacy used. When the garrote is where you twist it.
It's a torture device. It's a torture device. It's not only just to kill them, but also it's something, first of all, you get up close and personal then, but like Ted Bundy would use that, in some of his cases, in some of his things that he did, he would use that, or he would use his hands, but he would strangle them until they passed out and then stop. So they revived and then do it again, so that's it's a torture thing. Yeah. So, and then they said, okay, so the autopsy report to me is also very strange because they're not, again, you would think they found her hours later, they'd be able to tell how she had died. They said, well, she was strangled, but there was also this blow to the head that could have killed her. And they said it would have happened pretty close, like simultaneous to one another. okay, I kind of get that. It would be kind of hard to tell. But they also said, and this was the investigator, I believe, Lou Smith, and I got to talk about Lou in a minute because Lou plays very big in this new stuff that has come out. Old stuff too, but the new stuff. He said, and they showed, he went over all the stuff again. He was an investigator who was hired, I believe, was it by the Ramseys or somebody, that was reinvestigating? I can't remember, but the Ramseys became very close to him. That there was on her neck, because the little, it was a thin cord, and it was embedded in her neck so deeply that when her father found her, he didn't even see it. He didn't see that. He saw the duct tape on her. He saw her hands, tied up over her head, and he took the duct tape off her mouth. He tried to get the rope out from around her wrist, but it was too tight. And then he took her body upstairs. But he didn't even see that because it was embedded. But what they said is that, after they took her for the autopsy, there's red marks on her neck, like defensive, was like trying to get the the thing, the rope or whatever around, which makes sense. You're going to try to, like, if somebody's strangling you, right? But what the theory is, and then this has been for a while, is that she was hit over the head so hard, and they can tell that by the damage to her skull, that she would have been unconscious. If she was unconscious, how was she having defensive wounds?
Yeah.
And the garrote was made in the basement.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense because they're saying he hit her over the head, probably upstairs, to get her, incapacitated, and then take her downstairs. You're going to tell me after that big of a blow to her head upstairs, she's going to come to downstairs? I don't know. I mean, according to the autopsy, it probably wasn't. She would have, it would have, like, totally, she would have been unconscious. There's no way, right? So that, to me, I was like, wait a minute, you're talking about defensive wounds, but when is she making these defensive wounds? How does that work? Like, nobody has ever explained that to me in a way that's convincing, like that's what happened. So we already don't know what, they're saying definitively this is kind of how it happened, but we really don't know, because that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, if somebody else came out with something and I missed it, I could totally get it, but I'd not been able to figure out why he said that. So we said about what the weapons probably were. There's no evidence on there. Oh, and that's the other thing Lou Smith came up. So on her neck, there was 2 marks of equal distance. He's the one that came up with the stun gun theory, because he said, okay, they had to get her downstairs. So that, what he thought was that was a stun gun mark. And that they would have, it would have, like, he went to whoever it was, went up to the room, used a stun gun on her to incapacitate her, then took her downstairs, but then hit her in the head. Like, I don't know. But I've gone through this thing for years. So there was one, I thought about it, and this one investigator said, okay, wait a minute, stun gun number 1. You guys ever like do a stun gun? Like, makes a lot of noise.
Yeah.
It's loud.
We don't really have them.
Yeah. So it's like an electrical, so it's like a prong thing, and it's got like an electrical pulse that goes between it, and you hit somebody with it, and it's going to make them, whatever.
So you can hear the current running through.
You can hear
like,
it. It's loud.
Yeah.
Now, it was a big house, and she was on this floor different from her parents, so I get that. But here's the thing that was kicker to me, was that somebody hits you with a stun gun. I mean, if they've done this, they did all of these poor people. They did these reenactments on, people, not kids, but, people that signed up for this because they're crazy. You get hit with a stun gun, you're going to scream. Hurts like a bitch. You know what I mean? Yeah. Before you pass out, or you were like, oh,
I've actually seen videos online of, like, so they say that about tasers as well. But I've
That's
actually seen
stun gun
people
is.
have got hit.
Yeah,
they
but
just
taser's the one that
pull it off.
Pulls off.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's different. Yeah.
Like, there's some people, it's as if they're immune to it. They're like, what's that?
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
You say,
like,
those are the people on bath salts.
I was about to say they're always American. They'll just pull it out.
I've seen people that they're so stunned, it's literally they just stiffen, completely silent, and they go over.
Yeah.
Well, majority of them, their arms go down.
Yeah.
And they're just done.
I've never seen someone be like, "Oh, what's that? Take that out."
Yeah.
Seriously, I will try and find videos. It'll be like someone.
But it
they
wasn't
usually
a
do
6-year-old girl who weighed like, 60 pounds.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh
That's
no,
the other thing. You know what I mean?
no, I'm talking about like an adult who's
Yeah.
intoxicated in
Mm.
some way.
Yeah.
Well, there
But
you go.
they'll just pull it out, and the
Yeah.
police will be there like, what do we do now?
Yeah. So I think the stun gun theory is like, to me is really neither here nor there.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's what you would use to incapacitate a 6-year-old when you could just like stick your hand over her mouth and drag her.
Yeah.
I mean, she's small, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it didn't make any sense to me, but that was his theory on it when he saw that. It could have been anything. There was also this thing in there. Burke had these toys and he had a train track thing that was like metal tracks. And they also found that if she had been hit with one of those tracks or even laid on it, fell on it, it would have made that mark because it was metal and it had these little things like little spokes or spikes or whatever on the back of it that that could have made it. So it could have been any number of things, I guess. But Lou Smith has come out very big. He was like I said, a detective, very experienced detective and this and that, and he reinvestigated this case. He right away, after doing his investigation, said that Ramsey's had nothing to do with it, this and that, and fought for till the end of his life to prove, like, to figure out who actually killed. But here's the thing about Lou Smith, and I read a lot about him. I think he was very sincere. I think he believed, that they were innocent. He wanted to exonerate them. But like any detective, he came up with a theory, and that was his theory. And I believe that part of his theory, at least, if not a lot of his theory, was the fact that Lou Smith was a very, very, what do you call it? A very committed Christian. And the Ramseys came across, the way they talked, the way they interacted with him, was that they're this Christian family, church going, Christian, praying, Bible believing, and that's what he was. And everything that I've ever read about him talking about the Ramseys have to do with their faith. So I believe he saw them as he identified with them as they're like me, they're believers and they're this. And I know because I've lived, sometime I was in a Christian church and I know how these people talk, and I know how they believe and stuff. And it's wonderful. That's part of their life. It's their faith. But I also feel that sometimes people get blindsided when they believe somebody is a person of faith, because if they are so committed to it like that, and they truly believe this person has the same kind of belief system that they have. And I see this in Lou Smith in every interview he's done about the Ramseys. He's always talking about God. He's always talking about faith. He's always talking about, their innocence and, these are good people, that these are people of faith, all that kind of stuff. And I think that clouded his ability to be objective. I mean, that's just my theory, but I mean, it's really, really clear when you see anything. And and the other thing too is he got very obsessed by this case, which I think also clouded his, that happens. It clouds your theories. You don't really, you're not as objective anymore.
Right.
And I understand it. It was a little girl, and he really wanted to solve this case, and he thought that the Ramseys were being railroaded. But that's the thing I wanted to ask you guys about this, the whole media thing about the Ramseys, right? What kind of comes out to you when you see, like, because now they're showing all these old, interviews that they did, and all of these, they did Barbara Walters, they did, of course, they here's the thing. I remember people saying, oh, right away they rushed to judgment. No. They didn't talk to the Ramseys in any real way for weeks. Burke, that interview with Burke was a year and a half after the murder. It wasn't right away. So what do you guys think about this whole thing about, this became a media sensation? Of course, we got to talk about the beauty pageant stuff. Of course, that was a big part of it, but just generally, like, when that was happening, or even now when people talk about it, what do you think kind of informed that? Why is it such a big case? I mean, it's a strange case. I get that. But what kind of stands out for you?
I think, like you said there, that the beauty queen thing is just such a massive part of it. It's whether people love it or hate it. It's that, like, the picture of her with the makeup and the hair and the tan, and you know what I mean? It's such kind of like shock value thing,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just to go off of the beauty queen thing, you know, it was a wealthy Caucasian family. You know, would this case have gotten as much as attention if it was a little brown girl, a little, you know, African American girl, a little Mexican girl, a little Indian girl? Like, would it, even if, you know, the family was like an affluent family? That's kind of what I think about. Like, people
I
love,
100% agree.
yeah, people love
She's very
pregnant women.
photogenic. I mean,
And
it's
she's
easy to
very
put her on the
photogenic.
front page because she's a beautiful little blonde girl, you know.
Yeah.
And then she's dressed up in these very adult costumes, like you said.
The
you know?
makeup,
People like
everything. Yeah.
and here's the thing, I don't know if people know, but this is one thing I was thinking about. In the US, it's different. Like the beauty pageant stuff is more of a thing in the South than they in the northern state. Like in Boston, I don't think you see a lot of that.
No.
It's more of the southern states. Like that's just kind of part of it's been around for a long time, part of the culture, whatever, you know, cheerleading, beauty pageants. It's bigger in the South, right? And Patsy was from Virginia, and she was Miss Virginia or something, you know. She won her mother won some beauty pageant, and so in one of the interviews, people ask her about that, like, well, you know, she seems like a sexualized little girl because of, you know, what she's wearing and how she's posing, and Patsy got very up in arms about that, and she said, no, you people twist it, people are, you know, are sick. This was something, it's just, you know, innocent, that she wanted to dress up, it's just a little girl thing. She said, you know, that I guess, you know, she saw her mom's picture, like when she was Miss Virginia with her crown on, and she was, oh, mommy, when can I do that? Okay, first of all, why are you showing your kid ancient history? You did that 30 years ago. You know what I mean?
They don't care.
You're not 20 anymore. you're like, you know, it's like, because Patsy was into that. No, you're not going to tell. I mean, what is that show with the moms, the stage moms with the girls in the pageants?
Oh,
toddlers and
toddlers and
tiaras.
tiaras.
Toddlers and
Yeah,
tiaras.
yeah.
I never watched that, but I've seen previews, and it looks really bizarre to me. Like, isn't it like the
Just to buy it
mothers that
straight
are?
away.
Isn't like
Sweet 16.
Isn't like the
No.
mothers that are more into it than the kids? Doesn't it seem like the mothers
Yeah.
are much more like involved?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a dancer. I've danced since I was 4. So when Dance Moms came out, that was a whole thing too. And in that, yeah, the moms were like more aggressive on the side about why their daughter's not in the front row or whatnot. So it's, yeah, toddlers and tears, Dance Moms, same concept.
Yeah. So I think Patsy was into that. Like, she liked her daughter being a winner, you know, all that kind of stuff too. She never says that, of course, you know, because I don't know, she's being judged by people who think that's really weird, that dress up your daughter with, I mean, you're a 6-year-old and they're like dyeing your hair and putting false eyelashes on you. And, you know, it's like in a lot of places, even in this country, we're like, that's weird, you know, like we may not necessarily think it's abusive, but we think it's odd, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like a lot of people have said, and which totally makes sense, is, what do you think? You don't think pedophiles are like hip to this stuff?
Exactly.
You know, they like
And
little
that-
girls, and, you know, this sexualized that way. It's like, well, that's like a, you know, something that would draw them, right?
Yeah. And that was before like all of the shows and everything, and before social media. I mean, now, you know, how many moms are under wrath for, like, you know, exploiting their children on their social media channels. I can't remember the mom's name, but just some of the
Ruby Frankie.
Yes. Thank you. Just some of the things like, oh, eat this hot dog on camera. Like, people want to see you eat this. Like, what in the world? Are you kidding? Like,
Serious?
Yeah.
yeah. And not just that, but like hold the microphone a certain way. Like, you just,
Yeah.
awful.
Making money and content
Making
off
money.
your children.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like you said, all the pictures, because the pictures were out there. So of course the media was, you know, like right away, that's something that's going to sell a newspaper or whatever. Like, what's this little girl that got murdered? Oh my God, why is she dressed like that? You know, was one of those things. And then, you know, they said, you know, the media, they were tried in the media and all this kind of stuff, but they really use the media to their, you know, to their advantage, I think, a lot of ways. Now I understand, you know, number one, if they're trying to catch the killer, then they had a lot of, you know, they had a lot of firepower behind them, where a lot of people don't. You know, if your kid goes missing and nobody pays attention, you know, it's really difficult to get that out there. but so they could use it that way. But I also believe that because Patsy was, she had been a beauty queen. She was kind of a socialite. She was kind of like in the community. She had, she was very media savvy. Like she did, know that. And John, to a certain extent too, because he had his business that he had to, promote and market and, get deals and all that kind of stuff. So I do see them in their interviews as knowing what to say and what not to say, knowing how to come across. Right. There was that one where Patsy was obviously on, some kind of probably tranquilizers or, something.
Yeah.
That was like, and then she's crying, oh, keep your babies close. There's a monster out there. And I don't know what to make of that one. Like, I can understand she seemed like she was, but then there's no tears. And, I'm like, I don't know. It's very, the whole thing's very odd. So anyway, I want you guys just to say what your theory is. I have a little theory. I have a little bit of a twist, but it's not a big twist, but it's just something that kind of came to my mind. But as far as like, we could just say, allegedly, who do you think is it an intruder? Is it a family member? Is it, like what? Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
Can I go first? Because this has literally just popped into my head.
Okay.
So I don't know. Like
I just come up with this on the spot.
I'm constantly saying this on the podcast, but I don't know this case very well. But is there any way there could be a family member who was jealous of her? Because the first thing, so what's just popped into my head while I was listening to Esther is a case what we covered where it was Judith Ducky. And it was the father, he was jealous of how much attention and fame she was getting. Would you think there's anyone in her family who was like that, was jealous of, how much attention and fame she was getting?
Yeah,
right.
It could be.
Like, so the mother was really supportive, weren't she?
Yeah.
But the brother, could he have been jealous of how much attention she was getting?
Yeah, that was one of the theories that definitely came out. They even said like maybe like her half siblings, because here John started his whole new family. His kids are now teenagers or young adults, and did he leave them behind? Were they jealous of that? Could it be somebody, anybody in the family who thought, well, this, I don't know, getting back at Patsy and so, it could be anything like that. So yeah, there's
definitely that with the letter, with the 911 call, how she was fixated on that letter. My theory, I'm not saying it's it's proof or gospel, but she was fixated on that letter. So in theory, she wrote that letter. She wanted the eyes to be on that letter.
But when people are uncomfortable, they talk a lot, don't they? And they keep kind of going and go. All you have to do is say nothing and let them go on and on and on and on.
But something like that, they'd usually just ramble on. But she kept going back to the letter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I understand the jealousy theory aspect, but I'm kind of seeing it as like, maybe it was an accident. Maybe they were just playing and, something happened and it was an accident and, the whole family panicked and, wrote the letter, everything else. I mean, one of my cousins one time whacked me upside the head with a basebop bat on accident.
Oh my God.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yes. No, that is facts. She straight up whacked me with it. But we were like playing like, good guy, bad guy. And she just was like, and we were young too. And so God, thankfully I'm okay for the most part. But like what if it was just an accident? And so,
Well, yeah, my first concussion was me and my brother was playing wrestling. And he smacked my head off a radiator.
Yeah. My sister and I won.
And another puzzle piece falls into place.
Oh my goodness.
That's exactly it. What concerns me is he goes, my first concussion.
Yes.
I'm telling you, language, I picked up on that too.
Mhm.
But see, but here's the thing, you're right, Lorena, because that is one of the things that we know is that Burke actually did hit her one time with a golf club out in the backyard. We know that. That happened. She ended up going to, the hospital. Nothing, major happened, but she did get, bruise and on her head or whatever it was. And it wasn't an accident. He was angry,
Yeah.
and kids do that stuff. It's no, we're not
Oh,
saying
yeah.
he's a murderer.
It's
We're just saying that it could have been an accident, like you said.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
all right,
kind of with
allegedly,
Lorena
let
on
me.
Allegedly.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt. Go
sorry.
ahead.
I was going to say, I'm kind of with around it, whether it was something bad happened or accident, whatever. I think, was more that kind of territory and a little bit of a kind of cover up to ease it,
It's like, I think for it to be an intruder, there's too much stuff it doesn't make sense.
No, I'm fobbing that off immediately.
It doesn't make sense. Like, for someone to come in and spend 30 minutes to write
Oh God.
Everything is gonna go to shit by the time we're done with this. The tree's gonna topple, the lights are already burnt out.
Like, I think pretty much the intruder theory, it doesn't make sense. Unless it was an intruder, but then someone sat there in the family and spent 30 minutes writing a ransom note.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense. So
I'm telling you, there's always
no
a red
one's
herring
going to
there.
break into a house, write a ransom note for half an hour, to kill the person anyway, leave them there and just leave. It's someone in the house.
Yeah. I've
Everything
always
points-
kind of thought allegedly that it was the brother, whether it was intentional or not, like Lorena said. And then I do think on the parents' end, it was a cover up because they've already
protect the
now
son.
potentially lost one child. Why lose two?
Yeah.
And because, just like you were saying, I understand there are just some dumb criminals that break into a house and things get out of hand and they use weapons of opportunity. I get that. But for this to be a planned kidnapping, they really
Yeah.
didn't put any thought into it. To break in and write the note there, that's too risky. You want to get in and get out. To use things that were at the scene, it just doesn't add up. And to leave her there after all of that, to leave her there in the basement. So then what was all of that for?
Yeah.
Right.
It was for nothing. In regards to what Esther's saying, though, in regards to would a mom, put the ligature around her neck, I agree with that, but I do think if they're trying to paint a picture of let's make it look like it was somebody else, that's
It's
the thing
merely
to do
protecting the
because
son.
no mother would do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'd really have to
Sell it.
oh God.
Yeah.
Could you do that though? That's the thing, it's just it's hard to
What you
believe that.
said, protecting the son. No mother would do that to their child, but would they do it to protect their child? Yeah.
If you look at it, the different side of protecting the son,
Yeah.
yes, some would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's a look. So that whole theory, it's closest to kind of fitting all the pieces of it. But here's one twist that just kind of came into my mind like this last week or two, because that's kind of where I went a long time ago with that. What if, like we said, he had already hurt her, accidentally, allegedly, like with the golf club, and maybe they knew there was some animosity there. He was jealous of her, whatever. Maybe there was some of that kind of tension in the house. So they were kind of like trying to, how kids get. They can start to, get, especially the older one to the younger one can get a little bit rough or whatever. And so maybe they were trying to head off at the pass or whatever they're trying to do. Okay. So let's say that they find JonBenet and she's been hit over the head or whatever. And she's unconscious and she's not breathing or whatever happened. And they assumed it was Burke because they were already kind of worried about that he was being too rough with her. But it wasn't Burke. What if there was actually somebody else? Okay, and I'll get to that in a second. But what if it was somebody else, but they thought it was Burke? And so Patsy went into, action and wrote the ransom note and stuff. Again, like you guys said, to protect her son.
Yeah.
But it wasn't him.
Oh, so you're saying if it was an intruder who came in, did the crime, left,
Yes.
then the mother thinks it's him.
Yes.
That doesn't make sense.
So they would
Because
have known
that-
she was already in the basement.
Okay, but see, that's there's the red herring there, because then you wrote the ransom note knowing she's already in the basement, or did you not know she was in the basement? Did you think somebody, that's the part that doesn't fit. There's always one piece that doesn't fit.
How would the brother have carried her down there?
Well, this is what I'm saying. I don't know. See, again, let's say that she was, she was unconscious, and so they did this, and then they did that part of it, or that part happened, like whatever, like we're saying it was staged. So if you're saying it's staged, then they still would have had to, take her. Maybe she was down there. I don't know why she'd be down there in the middle of the night. That part I don't understand. But let's say that it was a third party that actually killed her, was responsible for her death. But they thought it was Burke. So then they did all that. Okay. And then they found, because to me, the only reason I'm saying that, because it makes sense, the actions afterward.
Mhm.
You write the note and all this kind of stuff, and then you immediately, like you say, we don't know who did it, we're all of these kind of things. That kind of makes sense, like, oh shit, we already did this, and now we realize it wasn't Burke, but now we have to continue playing this, because then we're going to have to say you thought it was our son or something, you know what I mean? Like that creates a whole another mess. So, but here's the thing I thought, again, with the note on the stairs and Patsy writing the note and the whole thing, okay, but what if she thought, well, people will think it's Burke, we got to do this to cover it up. What if there was somebody else? I don't think that the father was involved. I do think Patsy has some knowledge, or had some knowledge. There's just too much with the note. And the other thing too we didn't talk about is that she supposedly comes down in the morning to get ready for the day, because they were going to travel to go somewhere else, and she's already dressed. When the police come, she's already dressed. She said she's wearing the same clothes she wore the day before to the party. What woman who is this beauty queen who has all these designer clothes and always dressed to the nines is wearing the same shit she wore to a party the day before? That never made any sense.
No.
That never made any sense. So she has something happened that night that she knew about. She was there, involved after the fact, something. The last thing that kind of came to my mind, what if it was somebody who she was involved with that her husband didn't know about? What if there was somebody who was maybe started some kind of relationship with Patsy, or was flirting with her, or was giving her a lot of attention, or whatever? Remember, her husband's a lot older than her. Her husband's a lot older than her. He works a lot, whatever. Maybe somebody she met at a pet. Who knows? I mean, again, just a theory, right? Let's say it's something like that. But this guy was doing it because we know pedophiles try to find a way in to how they can get to the kid. And it was through Patsy,
Esther.
and that was her. That's why she felt guilty. Maybe she wasn't involved in doing anything to her daughter, but knew who did. But if they find out this guy did it, they're going to know he's tied to me, and I let him in the house. He knew the house. He knew my daughter. He knew how to get to her because he was having this flirtation, let's just say flirtation with me. And I allowed it.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
That's a very interesting theory. It hasn't sat well with me that the family, and if you know who specifically, whether it was Mr. or Mrs. Ramsey, sorry, I feel like I'm just like growing up, I'm just like, oh, they're older, I have to call them Mr. and Mrs.
I know.
But which one of them was the one to call all their friends to come over the house? I'm thinking it was her.
I believe it was her, yeah.
But I always have felt that was intentional to compromise the scene.
I did
So
too.
that there was, if you want your daughter found, you're not going to do that. Or you might call a one family member,
maybe grandma or something.
But to call all your friends and have them come over, I'm like, no, that it just doesn't sit well. And I've always wondered if it was purposely to mess up the crime scene.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that just came to my mind. I thought, well, wait a minute. If she was involved in it, because I've never felt like her husband was, like, just like going through his language, his interviews, his whatever. I'm like, nope, I don't see it at all. Even like we get to see him, in person at CrimeCon, and I was like,
Yeah.
let me see.
Blink one more time.
Let me see. Anything in your eyes that I didn't see through the TV screen? No, I don't believe so. But then if it was somebody that she was involved with that he didn't know about, then he would think she was, she had nothing to do with it, because that's the way she presented it.
In any of the new documentaries, I know there's like talk of like DNA evidence now. I feel like that recently came out. Is there anything like that in the new documentaries that you?
So they're still trying to get it tested. He says the Boulder police have, some DNA stuff that they can test, but they've not done it. They're trying to get somebody to do it. But the thing is, the Boulder police, we will say this, definitively, is they totally mucked up that crime scene from the get, and so they've been doing cleanup work ever since, to their reputation for how badly they botched it. And I think they did it because they were people of wealth and status, and they let them do whatever they wanted. They did not even separate them and interview them for days, which is something would happen immediately. There's a murder in your house. Everybody's a suspect. You don't let them sit there and go to their friend's house and talk it over for 4 days before you interview them. So they mucked it up. They did, and they do bring that, like, even John Wright, well, they didn't have a homicide department and blah, 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 blah. Okay, I get that. But some of this stuff is just, like you said, common sense. Don't let people in the house. You've got all these cops, even the cops were just trudging through there, all of that stuff. And so yeah, but the DNA. So he's saying that, we want them to check, but I think they've held on to it because they basically said that they did it. The Ramseys were involved, that they did it. In their mind, case is closed. And even though, so the grand jury, I don't know if you guys knew about the grand jury, when they actually were able finally years later to get it in front of the grand jury, which the grand jury takes all the evidence and does, interviews like a court case. And then they decide whether or not there's enough evidence to take it to trial for this, to basically indict somebody for the murder and take it to trial. And are presented to the prosecutor if they want to take it to trial. So they, at the end of it, the DA came out and he said, that after reviewing, the grand jury thing, that they weren't going to charge the Ramseys, but they didn't say that it was closed. They didn't say they didn't, whatever. Well, it came out again, years later, that the grand jury did vote to indict the Ramseys. They did want the Ramseys indicted, but the DA decided not to.
Interesting.
How old was the son when this happened?
Time he was 9. She was 6. He was 9.
Because something else what's just popped into my head is, if you was a parent, and no, but like the only thing is, a 9-year-old wouldn't know to use. That's the only thing what's throwing me off about the grot.
That thing's always throwing me off.
9-year-old wouldn't know what a grot is.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
That one, that's yeah. So yeah, again, there's always a problem. So I don't know. And maybe if they have let's say they get the DNA evidence finally, and they can test it now with touch DNA and all this kind of stuff, and they find somebody in the community. My theory could still be right. It could still be somebody Patsy knew.
Would they still be alive?
Yeah, they could probably not, maybe not alive. Patsy's not alive.
Yeah.
But she died young because she had, cancer. But it could be, they've had all these other people that they've investigated, and they bring those out for the documentary. I'm like, dude, that was already debunked years ago. Why are we going through that again?
It's making money.
Yeah, exactly.
Netflix is really good for that. Do you remember when they put that 3-part documentary on? I can't remember her name. The one, in the roof of the Cecil Hotel.
Yeah.
She was found
Elisa
in the
Lamb.
Alyssa Lamb, yeah.
They put a new documentary out about that, and me and you sat there and watched all 3 episodes. And at the end, there was like, so still we don't know if she climbed in or. And it was like,
No. They said it was an accident by the end.
oh yeah.
And I was just like, what
Yeah.
did I even watch
Yeah.
this
It
for?
was
Like, I
we
mean,
just sat here for hours.
it was up and down, up and down. I was like, this was not
Yeah.
satisfying at all.
You could
Like,
tell what they were doing. They were pulling you one
Yeah.
way.
Well, they
and
got
then
you to
they
watch
pulled
it
you.
though, didn't they?
that was kind of me done with Netflix documentaries at that point. I was like, never again. Not
Girl,
doing this to me
I
again.
slam Netflix like all the time on my channel. I'm like, the cases are so horrific as is. You don't need to add extra stuff
Yes.
or
Right.
twist. Like,
Just tell the
No.
real story, but actually tell the
Exactly.
story. Don't just give the headlines. That's the thing that bothers me about it. It's
Yeah.
like there's plenty there to kind of go through. At the end of the Netflix documentary, it's basically John Ramsey saying we're waiting. We're asking them to test the DNA. Okay, test it. Like I don't know. They don't own that stuff anymore. It went to it's in some locker somewhere, so they have to wait and see.
Was that Netflix when I was screaming at the TV? Because they'd got some expert on, but he kept focusing on Ed Gein? And he was like,
No, that wasn't Netflix.
but he kept focusing on he was attracted to dead body. So
They kept saying that he was necrophile.
but he just wouldn't let it go. He
yeah.
kept going on about it. And I
Yeah.
went, what? Who is he?
So
And
that-
you went,
yeah.
he's an expert in necrophiles or something. And I went,
Well,
so that's why he's
say
that's why
that.
he's focusing on that then.
Yeah, but it was one of those, there's the debate of was he, wasn't he kind of thing. And I kind of believe, no, he wasn't. Whereas this guy was like, no, he absolutely was. There's
100% he was.
But what?
Without
But
giving
why is that the linchpin of the whole story, right?
Yeah.
Either way, it's still
No
gross.
idea.
Yeah. Poor Ed.
Well, we went over and
Well-
we didn't get the serial killer trivia, but we'll have to do that another time because I had some good stuff. But we'll have to do that another time because that one's really fun. But
Wait,
Just-
Neil, didn't you have a joke?
yeah.
Oh,
Did you say-
right.
Yeah.
we gotta end. We gotta
Well,
end.
this
with-
is
end on a
very-
high note.
This is very awkward because there's 5 people on this live stream and I'm the
He's
I'll
scared
be
now.
okay telling you.
you'll be fine.
We
It's
don't
not,
care.
it's not that bad.
Okay. So a lady goes to buy a Christmas tree
Mhm.
and the guy says, are you putting it up yourself?
You never can get through them.
And the guy says, are you putting it up yourself? And she said, no, I'm putting it up in the living room.
But
Different reaction.
But, honestly, I think Neil's like telling the joke is more comical than like,
yeah, I agree.
himself.
I agree.
Because he cracks himself up.
I'm sorry.
Don't apologize.
Don't be
That was
sorry.
well done. Well done. We're laughing with you, not at you.
Exactly.
that's a lie.
Yes.
We're gonna end with just
Just
one
to
thing.
do a bit of stand up.
We're gonna end with one thing. Everybody has to tell. What is your favorite holiday movie and why?
Do you want me to start?
Yes,
Mine is kind of a new one, but I love Noelle. It's a Disney movie. It's so cute. It's very like jolly and wholesome.
I don't know that one.
It's super cute. It has the girl from Pitch Perfect, the cup girl. What's her name? I don't even know. I'm so bad with like actors' names. And then also the guy Barry from HBO. I don't know his name.
Oh, Barry.
either.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
But it's
Bill
really
Hader?
cute.
Bill Hader.
Yes. Yeah.
I love Bill Hader. Okay, I have to watch that now.
It's very like femme power also. So really like that one. Noelle, super cute.
Dani.
Okay, and this is debatable whether people think it's a Christmas movie or not, but it's tradition that every Christmas Eve we watch Die Hard with Bruce Willis.
Okay. Because it's a Christmas movie, but it's not a Christmas movie, right?
It's definitely
Yeah,
a
some
Christmas
people say it is, some people say it isn't, but that's what
I
we
haven't
do.
watched that in years. I need to watch that again.
Yeah,
Oh, so
same.
good.
Yeah. Neil.
Oh.
Megan.
I mean, I have to be honest with you. I'm going to be that person who's like, I can't pick one. I mean, obviously, Grinch, the original, and then like Jim Carrey is amazing. But if I'm gonna just, go for a slightly more out there one, I don't know if you've ever seen The Family Stone.
Yes,
That was
I
a
have.
great one.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and
That
it's
is a
just
good
kind
one.
of slightly off the typical Christmas thing. Yeah, and just watching the reality of families at Christmas, I thought that was a good one. Or for that kind of same vein, Surviving Christmas. That was a
Okay.
good one.
Yeah, that's a good one too. I like those Mayhem Christmas movies.
Yeah. I recently watched Four Christmases with
Yes.
yeah, I like that
Vince
one.
Vaughn? Is that the Vince
Yeah, with
Vaughn
Vince Vaughn
Yeah.
and Reese Witherspoon.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like that one. That was the first time I watched
That's
it.
more like your I don't know, your vibe because of your age and
Yes,
your place in your
yeah.
life right now. Yeah, I could totally get that.
I think see, I was gonna say I'm torn between two, but I think I've made my decision. And it's more of a nostalgia thing of when I was a kid watching it. And I only watched this movie 3 days ago. Jingle All the Way.
Jingle All the Way.
Oh.
So I thought I would have ruined that for you.
What?
Neil was watching Jingle All the Way the other day, yeah?
Oh no. This is what, like, keep true crime on the podcast. If I'm sat watching a childhood movie, like a favorite movie from my childhood, yeah, tell them what you told me while I'm watching it.
I didn't mean it in like a nasty way. I didn't mean to ruin it for him. But Phil Hartman came on the screen and I just looked up and I went, oh, he's
was
dead
murdered.
now. He was actually murdered.
He was murdered.
And I was just like sharing this
That's what I would
information.
say
I was like, what the, like, why did you say
And then
that?
so I started looking up the cast, and then I looked at the child actor and I went, oh shit, he's in and out of prison.
He had like a history of
Really?
mental illness and all that. So this was only maybe half an hour into the movie, and I think Neil was already done. His mood was already changed. It was like, well, it's not Christmas anymore. This is
Christmas is
Like-
ruined.
Yeah.
I do the
This-
same thing with locations. Everywhere I go, I know. Like I was like, oh yeah, somebody was murdered there. Oh yeah, that's where they found that body. Oh yeah, that's... I'm like, oh my god, it's just like everywhere. I'm like, I'm sorry.
The only,
I can't
the-
not think of that when I'm in that place.
yeah.
Yeah.
the only other movie to come to mind,
Well, Die Hard is one that you love.
Die Hard.
Yeah.
But the only other one is Home Alone.
Yeah.
That's classic.
Classic.
Yeah.
We actually watched one last week, and because it had got Dan Levy in, we was like, we've got high hopes for this.
Yeah,
It
it was
was
a something
terrible.
season. It was a something season or something.
Happiest
Oh,
season.
yeah.
Happiest season. Yeah, I saw that. a
I
few
liked
years
that
ago when it came out.
one. That one was
When it came
cute.
out. Yeah,
I didn't think it was
only,
too
he was
bad.
only in it like he was only in it for like 5 minutes. He was
Yeah.
hardly
That's
in it at all.
exactly it. I wanted to see him more.
I know.
I
He
love
wasn't.
that.
That was
guy.
disappointing. I know.
Yeah.
I
But you
wanted-
keep calling me Dan Levy.
You do have a bit of an air. If I was to cast someone
You
to
need to
play
get the
you, it would be
sweaters though.
him.
You need to get all the sweaters.
Esther, what's your favorite holiday movie?
Two that I always start with at the beginning. Well, both of these actually, would be Elf, because I just think it's hilarious. It's just so goofy and hilarious. And Christmas Vacation,
Mm.
same thing. And I love that when the rant at the end when he
Christmas
holy
Vacation.
fuck,
Is that what you
where's the
watched?
Tylenol? Kiss my ass or whatever the hell. I love that stuff. You know, Chevy Chase was like a horrible person, but man, he was funny. Like he was,
True.
he was so funny. But I have a whole bunch now that I need to like get on my, like I heard Scrooge with Bill Murray. That old one was really good. Like I think I might have seen it, I don't know, once years ago, but they're like, if you haven't seen it in a while, there's a lot to it that you know you probably missed. And I like Bill Murray. So yeah, there's a whole bunch now that I need to see. But yeah, I say Elf and Christmas Vacation I watch over and over. But I watch, I mean, all of like Home Alone, it's always on. I'm always watching it. You know, those or whatever.
Christmas Story is on 24 hours on Christmas.
Story. I wait till Christmas Eve to watch that one. Yeah, I watch
Did
certain
you-
ones at certain times. Like on Thanksgiving, I watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, like with John Candy. Like I watched that one because that's a Thanksgiving movie, which there isn't many of those. And then if I watch Plane, Trains, and Automobiles, John Candy, then I have to watch Uncle Buck. So then I start watching Uncle Buck, and it's like I kind of go down this thing. But yeah, there's certain ones that I watch at certain times. But yeah, Christmas Story I watch on Christmas Eve because it's on, right?
Yeah,
They do
it's on
American
like
Beauty.
TNT for like 24 hours.
24 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's when I watch it. But yeah, there's certain ones. But do you guys watch Christmas movies when it's not Christmas? Ever?
No, absolutely
No.
not.
Yeah, I don't
No.
either. I think you got to be. There's something wrong with you. You watch those.
Hey, I watch horror films all throughout the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Like
That
not
makes
just
sense.
during
Yeah,
Halloween time.
Yeah.
I'm with Esther. We don't watch Halloween. We don't watch horror films.
No, we don't watch horror films.
Can't do
Oh,
it.
at all? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know that about Esther, but
The last horror film I watched, I had more questions at the end of it of what I had no idea. She said to me, I've got a movie for you to watch. It's not too bad. Which I love how she said that because she hadn't seen it. So how did she know it wasn't too bad for me? And she said
yeah.
it's called The Barbarian. And I was like, oh,
Mm.
that does sound like something I'd watch. You know, I'm thinking Barbarian.
History, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with history. It
Mhm.
was I can't even tell you the plot of the film.
The film was
can't-
like a commentary. It was metaphors, and Neil was like, "What the hell is going on?" I have no idea. Like you were just lost.
Like it were to do with like Airbnbs or something, and then all of a sudden there's like this mysterious tunnel what led to
Yeah.
another house, and it were like I don't even know how they got there. And then all of a sudden there's this woman running around naked and screaming and trying to kill people, and I was like, what about I have more
Where am
questions.
Yeah.
The more I watched it, the more questions I had. I was like, I don't know what I'm watching here.
I recently watched The Substance. I don't know if you guys have heard of that one.
no, I haven't seen that yet.
Oh my gosh. I wish I would have watched it in theaters because some of the scenes are just like, whoa. But it's not scary at all. If anything, at the end, there's a really good message to just love yourself how you are. But it is, oh gosh, some of the, like I said, some of the scenes are just like, oh my God. But it's not like scary. It's just like, oh.
See,
do.
for me, I go as far as Paranormal Activity. That's
Don't
like
I don't like any of that.
That's like my limit.
Not my seeing that. You watch an entire movie just for one thing to happen at the end.
Yeah.
There's no like, yeah, it's
Bollocks. There's loads of stuff throughout that film.
Bollocks.
Words you don't hear.
Yeah,
very much here.
exactly. Is that
You know,
like a
just-
shoot or lies?
You know, just to go back to the Christmas movies, did you hear the rumor about they might be making a new Home Alone
No. Uh-uh.
with
Mm-mm.
Macaulay Culkin and who played the mother?
He's the
Why are you
father now
laughing
or
at
something?
me?
Is he the
Macaulay-
father now?
try that again.
Macaulay Culkin.
Macaulay Culkin.
Take a shot until you get it right.
Yeah.
Every shot until you get it right.
Or don't.
Yeah, the Macaulay Culkin. That's his name, isn't it?
Macaulay.
Macaulay.
Yeah.
Macaulay Culkin.
We're gonna be here all night.
Yeah,
So-
seriously.
The original lad from Home Alone and the original mother from Home Alone might be doing a new Home Alone where both of them are protecting the house.
Mm.
That'd be
I haven't
amazing.
heard that. I heard there might be a
the original
Grinch.
mom, Moira from Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, Captain
Yeah.
O'Hara.
Oh,
Is
that'd be
it?
cool.
No,
Pen-
Captain O'Hara, yeah.
Yeah, Catherine
Pamplona.
O'Hara.
Mhm. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Pamplona.
I like her. I'd watch it.
Any other true crime holiday stuff?
Not for me.
Um,
I'm just
No.
like I actually though, because we're kind of off on a little bit of hiatus until I'm still working, but I don't have all the deadlines. Is I am really trying to get to true crime, stuff on like documentaries and things like that I've missed or they're coming up or whatever. So I mean, I'm trying to balance it between like holiday, just whatever, just chill out stuff and true crime, so I don't do all one or the other. But yeah, I got to get to some of that stuff because I just never have time. I just never have time to sit there and
Yeah.
watch, this. But I will be going. I didn't even see the Menendez monster. I haven't seen that
Yeah,
yet.
I haven't watched that either.
I gotta watch that. There's a bunch of them that have come out that I haven't seen, but I gotta get to.
To be fair, after what they did to me with the Dharma one,
I haven't seen the
didn't
Dharma
dare
one either.
watch.
Mhm.
Well, when we watched the Dharma one, so obviously you're expecting Dharma. As you know, Esther, I'm not very fond of clowns. And we were watching Dharma, and it got to the last episode, and it were right at the end. And she said, "Oh, the tea's in the next one." And then all of a sudden, you had got a clown drowning a man in a bathtub. And I was like,
Oh, is that Gacy?
what the fuck is going on? Like, we was watching Dharma. Why is there a clown? And she went, it's Gacy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Yeah,
remember? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they lean too heavily into the clown thing. So I was kind of like, I wouldn't be interested in that anyway.
And then
Actually,
it's-
my
too-
serial killer trivia stuff had some Gacy stuff, so we're gonna have to do that.
Yes, we'll have to do that another time for sure.
definitely.
All
Especially
right,
with
guys.
how good I was with the game.
You actually did
Yeah.
really good. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
I was shocked. You saw my shocked expression.
I know you were shocked. I know you were shocked.
That was worth the price of admission. Just be like, you got it right.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Thanks so much for hopping on. This was fun for our first live stream. We'll definitely
Yes.
be doing more of
Thank
these
you.
and putting those out. But yeah, hopefully you guys can join us in the future and have a great break if you're having a break. If you're traveling, safe travels. Don't go any bridges. Don't go in any basements. You know what else we say? You know? And yeah, thanks so much. We'll see you next time. I'm gonna stop this recording and then you guys are free to go.
Thank you.
So Lorena, you have to tell me how to do things so I can have the replay on here.
Okay. Are we still live on YouTube?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. If anything, just save that.
Okay. So do I
Once-
have to just end the thing here?
Once the call is ended, yeah, then we'll save it.
So okay, so I'll end it on Zoom first.
Yeah. Well, don't hang up yet.
Oh,
We're
okay.
still
I
saying-
stopped recording on
on Zoom. Yeah.
Do I
Okay,
don't
but
ha-
we're
I don't-
still live on YouTube.
Right. So how do I?
Okay. Bye guys.
Bye.
Okay. So
We'll
end
figure
the
it out at
live.
some point.
Yeah. You guys don't need to hang around.
All right, I do have to run. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
bye.
Bye guys.
Bye.
See you later.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
So funny.
I don't know. You can end the live because
I don't know if I have access to.
it's just on a regular channel on our studio.
Oh.
YouTube. Oh, it says host on YouTube. It says stop.